The Ishikawa electric shop sat there with its shutters slammed shut, a closure notice tape stretched across the front like a final warning. An open toolbox and a tangled extension cord reel sit right there, cold proof of a life that's already gone. Ryuichi stands before his late father's photograph, choking out an apology. He never found the strength to save the shop. Alone in that empty storeroom, he can't help but admit it. He's officially out of work now. He drops his head to the floor, begging with everything he's got for a chance to get in. An older man sighs with regret and tells him, straight up, that he can't help, money's tight and the economy won't budge. Ryuichi slams his forehead to the ground, practically begging the universe for even the smallest crack of mercy. Lying on his bed, he stares at the ceiling and realizes his whole life has been nothing but work for as long as he can remember. He finally decides to reach out and call his old high school friend, after a silence that's lasted way too long. A robotic voice chills him to the bone, announcing that the number has officially been taken offline. He crashes onto his bed, staring at the ceiling like it betrayed him, because he finally sees the truth. He always picked work over his friends. Staring at the ceiling light, he can't shake the feeling his room has always been this tiny. A crushing wave hits him. He's convinced he's lost everything for good. A super vibrant title page flashes Ryuichi front and center, dropped into a wild fantasy world, while two young girls stand nearby, ready for trouble. A fresh title page slams into the scene, and bam, there's a fox-eared swordswoman standing tall, with a young elf mage right beside her. With his free time finally in hand, he decides to kick back, and then starts thinking about diving into a web novel. His thumb slips on the screen, and snap, he accidentally taps a banner ad. An ad suddenly pops up and dares him, want to be transferred to another world. His first thought hits hard. That website screams suspicious, and there's zero trust in it. With boredom gnawing at him, he figures, why not, and jumps straight into answering the questionnaire. The aptitude test hits him with one brutal question. Are you really okay with a world where monsters and magic are just the norm? He's totally blown away. This survey is insanely detailed, and it just keeps going and going. A quick peek at his clock hits him like a punch. 3:20 a.m. and the night isn't going to wait. Time keeps dragging on while he relentlessly powers through that endless questionnaire, filling out every last box like it's his mission. At last, he slams the send button and shoots his answers through. A glowing magical sigil erupts on the screen, thanking him for his cooperation like it knows exactly what he just did. He stares at his phone unimpressed like that's it, wondering if anything else even shows up. Right then, a razor-sharp chime from his doorbell cuts through the whole apartment. He storms up to the door, convinced it's some late-night delivery crew come to drop off whatever they promised. A sharp-looking guy in a spotless white suit steps up and politely asks, "Are you Ishikawa Ryuichi?" Then the man flashes his name, Kamishiro Hajime, and presses a business card into the conversation. When they ask Kamishiro if he's a salesman, he flashes a grin and says, "Nope, I'm here to handle the survey." He says he's here to confirm Ryuichi's wish to jump into a new world. Ryuichi is totally stunned, convinced this has to be some kind of prank. Kamishiro grins and says, "Seeing's believing," then offers him a preview right then and there. He slams his hands together, and the world around them starts to warp and shift like it's bending to his will. In the blink of an eye, they're dropped into a breathtaking, glowing magical forest. Kamishiro leans in and declares that this spellbinding world is his true destination, Steria. Ryuichi grabs his own face, then freezes, because the hit of reality tells him this isn't a dream at all. Kamishiro suddenly spots this tiny, squirming blob of gelatin and calls it exactly what it is: a slime. Ryuichi watches as Kamishiro warns him, this species doesn't play nice with humans. Ryuichi just stands there baffled as that harmless creature suddenly morphs right before his eyes. The slime mutates into a snarling, fang-bearing monster, and Ryuichi blurts out an alarmed cry. Kamishiro calmly launches a blazing sphere of magic light and obliterates the creature in one hit. He tells Ryuichi magic actually works here, then grabs his hand and dares him to try it. Ryuichi collapses in terror, and Kamishiro rushes in to yank him back onto his feet. Ryuichi finally sinks his teeth into the lessons and masters the basic magic ball spell like it was made for him. The very next day, they slide into a seat and hash out every last detail of the offer. Kamishiro says, "All right, now I'll explain everything," but he hits you first with a warning. He declares with chilling finality that coming back to Earth is impossible. Ryuichi's eyes go wide. He can't stop himself from blurting out, "What happens to me on Earth?" Kamishiro claims the gods will wipe his entire life clean, burning away every single memory of him forever. To make up for it, he lays out a whole catalog of killer perks just for the transfer students. Ryuichi just gasps when he realizes these are the so-called cheat abilities. He gets divine appraisal, a universal language, an item box, and boom, his growth gets powered up to 10x. You can also pick 3 god-tier abilities from this massive encyclopedia. Like, the power options are unreal. Ryoichi flips through the book with trembling excitement, already hungry to find the power hiding inside. They can supercharge his body's power, or even hand him deadly crafting skills. He can't believe it. Somehow, he mastered the skill with 0 training. He likens it to flipping through a gift catalog, and Kamishiro tells him, take your time. Then Kamishiro drops the real bombshell, one last bonus, a special god gift only he can unveil. This gift is a custom tool, personally forged by the head god himself. Ryoichi can't help but daydream about getting something wildly, absurdly powerful, like a car that can time travel. Kamishiro snaps in real quick. Time manipulation is 100% off limits. Or he pushes Ryoichi to really weigh that offer over the next few days. Kamishiro storms off, swearing he'll be back in 3 days with the answer. Ryuichi ends up standing there all alone, staring at his family's clothes shop like the world just went quiet. Over the next few days, there's no doubt in his head. He's already decided to leave. He can't shake the feeling. It all lined up way too perfectly, showing up the instant he lost everything. He takes one last walk by his old school, and that monument to his past looms over him like a final goodbye. He heads to a nearby shrine, whispering a soft goodbye to the only home he's ever known. His mind snaps back to a recent meal at a diner he knows like the back of his hand. After work, he and his dad would rush here again and again. That gentle old owner clocked his worried face and quickly leaned in, asking what was wrong. Ryuichi admitted that his life was at a major turning point, right at the edge of everything changing. The owner opened up with his own wild tale, how he quit his career, chased his dream, and never looked back. The owner stuffed him with free gyoza, then practically dared him to push harder in life. Ryuichi was hit hard by the man's wisdom, and blown away by how one simple act of kindness could mean so much. He strides down the familiar, brightly lit streets of his hometown for one final time. From a craggy hilltop, he stares out over the world. This is his last, final look. He stands in front of that familiar scenery, drinking in every last second like it might vanish the moment he blinks. As the sun dipped behind the city, it felt like the world itself was sealing the final chapter of his life on Earth. 3 days later, he's posted up outside Kamishiro's shuttered electric shop, waiting like his life depends on it. He hands over the signed consent form like it's fate sealing his path, and there's no turning back. He leans in and demands, does he have a specific mission waiting for him to finish in the new world? Kamishiro tells him loud and clear that he's got total freedom. He can live however he wants. Ryoichi shoves over the paper that lists his picked abilities, and the god gift too. Kamishiro can't believe Ryoichi picked 0 combat skills, but Ryoichi has a reason that flips everything. He tells them he picked abilities he can't just learn solo, only these rare, unique ones. Kamishiro's eyes gleam as he takes it in. These skills mean he's finally going to be safe. He tells them with powers like these, Ryoichi won't go down easy. When he steps into the new world, his appraisal skill locks onto 3 lesser wolves. He looks at his low rank and decides it's not happening. He's not dying here. Even with his brand new powers, he realizes the wolves are still the top tier threat. He raises his hands to cast a spell, but those charging monsters are already upon him, way too fast. 3 horned wolves explode toward him, a streaking blur with teeth and fury. He whips a magic ball out in panic, but it sails past the mark and blasts into the ground with a harmless pop. One of the wolves rockets forward and slams into him, whipping him hard to the ground. The beast's fangs sink into his neck, and blood bursts out in a brutal spray. As his life slips away, he can't believe it. Dying feels cruel when he's barely started living. He refuses to go down and defiantly whips a swirling sphere of magical energy into existence. Pinned to the ground, he rips out his magic and blasts not 1, but 2 attacking wolves out of the way. Magic explodes from both his hands, smashing the beasts to pieces with brutal force. He staggers forward, stunned that dual casting magic is finally starting to click. A shimmering hum ripples through the air as his brutal wound seals itself shut. He flashes back to his god-tier regeneration, and that almost immortal body that won't quit. Right then, the pack's final wolf, its leader, explodes forward and lunges at him with jaw-dropping speed. He realizes the leader moves like a blur, fast enough that he can't squeeze in another spell. With fresh speed surging through him, he dodges clean and slams a devastating kick into place. He gasps for air, chest heaving after that swift, brutal counterattack. He gapes in disbelief, shock ripping through him as he realizes one kick and the beast is gone. He swears his crazy 10x growth power is what kicked in and blasted his strength upward overnight. Remembering every web novel trope he'd ever devoured, he snatches a thong right off the fallen monster. He consults it like a blessing from God, an all-purpose magical map. He's blown away by how the map instantly gets where he is and where he's headed. He follows the map's clues step by step, and then bam, he realizes he's right near his village. At the village gate, a hard-eyed guard stops him cold and demands to see his identification. Ryuichi fesses up that he's got no allies, and the guard immediately grills him about what he pulled before. With shaky nerves, he blurts that he left home to chase his dream as an adventurer, then gets hit with a full-on stare. The guard forces him to pay the undocumented entry fee, 3 silver coins. The guard squints at the new coins like they're a trap, but Ryuichi swears a merchant handed them to him. He turned every last asset from Earth into a massive fortune in the local currency. He figures the entry fee will be 3,000 yen, like you're paying for admission to a full-on theme park. A chart lays out the new world's money, and right next to it, the exact yen value. At last, the guard relents, swings the gate open, and lets him into IAS, then hits him with a sharp warning. He strides through the rustic village, soaking in the strange wooden buildings like they're calling his name. His bloody, ripped clothes make every villager shrink back and stare at him like a warning sign. People shrink back and whisper in terror as a blood-soaked stranger strides past them on the street. Spent to the bone, he realizes he has to find somewhere to crash, get cleaned up, and catch his breath. His gaze snaps to a warm, cozy and called the forest respite. Inside, a young maid named Mary rushes up to greet him. Then her face snaps into pure shock. She barrels in to help right away, offering to call a doctor the second she sees how badly he's hurt. Relief floods her face as she introduces herself, a Mary, and offers to take him around. At the very end, the cheerful girl, Mary, leans in and asks Ryuichi how to write his name. With a bright grin, she writes it for him and declares, "From now on, I'm calling you Rasen." Ryuichi freezes as he realizes his language skill only lets him speak and read. It won't let him write a single word. The older innkeepers can't stop themselves from staring in panic, terrified that Mary will trust a blood-soaked stranger. Mary offers to wash his tattered clothes, but he brushes it off and tells her it's not needed. He declares he's cracking open his item box to snatch fresh clothes like it's nothing. The item box is a crazy power that traps all kinds of stuff inside a separate dimension, ready whenever he needs it. With a blinding flash, Ryuichi just appears asterisk out of nowhere, and a crisp, folded work jacket tumbles into his hands from thin air. The innkeeper and Mary can only gawk upward, their mouths hanging open in pure, mind-blown shock. Clutching the jacket tight, Mary blurts out that it has to be some insane ability gifted by a god. Ryuichi's jaw drops at her reaction, and he blurts out, "Seriously, are powers like this asterisk that rare?" Mary swears it's a rare, coveted gift, one that even top-rank adventurers would kill to have. She sniffs the jacket, eyes widening at the rare fabric and that amazing scent. Then he tells her it's just the detergent. Ryuichi realizes this handy power is secretly stitched to his homeland's memories. In a flashback, Kamishiro leans in and grills him about his second god gift, a portable container that came straight from Earth. Ryuichi led him into his family's old warehouse and showed off the used 10-foot shipping container he'd been saving. Kamishiro flashed a warm smile, already cooking up an even better idea for Ryuichi's gift. If you try to turn the whole warehouse into an otherworldly stash, you can summon through the item box. Kamishiro even offered to hook up the third god gift, a breeding box sitting inside a warehouse. The breeding box doesn't just store stuff, it turns an item's value into copies, then gulps up currency to do it. Now his item box is basically a massive warehouse, where everything inside is sealed in frozen time. Ryuichi realizes this huge storage might be his ultimate cheat. He stares at his cash and the truth hits hard. He's got to snag a job and track down an ID fast. Mary leans in and tells him, straight up, if he wants real identification, he's gotta register with the guild. She spots the village's woodworkers guild, then slams the brakes, telling you the entrance test is brutally hard. In the non-stop roar of the guild hall, craftsmen sprint back and forth with logs and hammer away at fresh wood like it's their lifeline. At the front desk, a woman leans in and asks if he's here to join the guild. She tells him the way in, pay the exam fee, take their test, and you've gotta pass it. He asks about the pass rate and she drops the bomb. trained apprentices only make it through 40%. No friends, no help, no ties, so Ryachi clenches his teeth and decides he has no choice but to take that exam. A hulking, bone-crushing giant named Jido steps in, towering over him, and sneers at his skinny build like it's a joke. Caught off guard by the proctor's hard stare, Ryachi stammers that he's no weakling. The old guild master stays cool as ice and tells them, "Soon, you'll find out if I've got what it takes." The guildmaster slams down the first test, split a log with the axe they hand you. Yask leans in and demands the newcomer prove it. Can they split that wood with a tool that looks way too heavy? Ryuichi snaps back with a jolt of shock as the axe lands in his grip. He gasps, stunned by its impossible weight, and can't stop wondering what kind of axis could possibly hold something like that. Two examiners, Yask and Jido, just stared at the struggling young man, faces carved in stone, showing nothing at all. Ryuichi clenches his teeth, trapped by the truth. He can't mess up this exam, not even once. He realizes that wrestling the axe's crushing weight is pointless. A new plan sparks in his head. He's going to swing the axe using its own deadly weight. He grits his teeth and strains to lift the blade, forcing it to stay perfectly straight. The massive blade crashes down and hits the log with dead-on precision, like it's reading its target's heartbeat. With a fierce shout, he slams the axe down and cleaves the log cleanly in two. Jido freezes in shock as Yas stashes the seeds he's got, pulling off a passing mark in the strangest way. Jido kicks off the second test, carve a razor-precise square hole through that next log. Ryoichi grabs the guild's tools, then freezes, because the wood is so brutally hard he can't even scratch it. He whips around to the guild master and demands to know if there's a time limit. He realizes, with dread creeping in, that this pace will drag the job past a whole day. Ryuichi asks to use his own tools, and Yas shot back an instant yes. He slams his rare ability into action, and a bright, glowing interface blooms from his item box. The other guild members stare, jaws dropping, completely stunned by his insane, one-of-a-kind skill. He digs through his inventory and grabs the icon for a modern cordless power drill. The tool from his old world blooms into existence in his hand, shimmering softly like it's waking up just for him. He starts his shift and the drill's razor-pitched roar blasts through the hall like thunder. He still remembers getting this drill as a gift from his late father. Clutching the familiar tool in his hands, he flicks away a stray chunk of sawdust from its surface. The crowd murmurs in total awe, staring at the strange, terrifying tool in his hands and wondering what kind of power he's unleashing. Yaskar marks, this is the first time a magic tool has ever been used in the exam. Jido drops the verdict, Ryuichi is done, and he crushed the task in record time. The guild master barks orders at a helper. Get the newcomer's official guild card ready now. The crowd huddles in whispers, all pointing at the newcomer and realizing he's a magic tool user. Later, Yask's eyes widened in shock when he realized Ryoichi cleared the test without a single shred of magic. He unveils the truth. The tests were built to see how hard his body could hit and how sharply his magic could channel. Ryuichi drops his shoulders and lets out a sheepish apology, admitting he finished the challenges in the most unorthodox way possible. Yask tells him that this axe is a god gift, when you can't swing unless you've got magic in your bones. Ryuichi's eyes flare wide with disbelief as he whispers that impossible phrase again, a god's gift. Yask winks as he explains the axe is enchanted, then it hits hard. Ryoichi is clearly favored by the gods. He thrusts a wooden plaque into the hands of a stunned Ryuichi, his official guild card, right on the spot. Yask steps up and warmly welcomes him to the Woodworkers Guild as they lock hands. Ryoichi quietly admits he feels totally unworthy to join, like he hasn't earned it, not even with real training behind him. The huge, battle-ready Jido snaps the moment in half with a booming shout. He slams a heavy arm around Ryoichi and announces, loud and certain, that he's taking him on as an apprentice. That evening, a loud voice boomed from the tavern walls, declaring a welcome party just for the newcomer. At the middle of that grand feast, Jido bursts in with a shocked compliment, praising Ryuichi for being a surprisingly great drinker. Two giant wooden tankards of ale get slammed together with a thunderous cheer, like everyone's about to celebrate something huge. Jido's face is blazing with excitement as he dares Ryuichi to a no-holds-barred arm wrestling showdown. Ryoichi totally shocked everyone against his new master's brutal strength. He not only held his ground, he kept up. With his cheerful new co-workers all around him, Ryoichi soaks in the praise again, and it makes his heart feel like it's floating. Staring up at the moon, he wrestles with the decision. Does he really dare to leave Earth and step into this brand new world? Standing there by himself on the village street, he made a vow. This new life, he was going to squeeze every drop out of it. In that celestial realm, Kamishiro tells us one terrifying truth. Steria always has death lurking right around the corner. The winged goddess blurts out, trembling, whether Ryoichi, this new face, can actually survive what's coming. She leans in, smirks, and reminds him that his future is his to forge, then can't wait to watch his journey unfold. Elsewhere, a desperate red-haired girl begs for help, fighting tears as her sick sister slips closer to the brink. A miner stares at her with pity and snaps, telling her bluntly that her request can't happen. She crumples in heartbreak, pleading to be let loose in the deadly mines. She wipes her tears and stares at the moon, begging a savior to rise and rescue them. On the title page, Ryoichi and his future crew are tearing into a loud, joyous feast together, right there like they belong in each other's lives. Deep in the forest, Jaido hurls his axe with jaw-dropping power, and one brutal swing brings down a towering giant tree. He speaks to a stunned Ryoichi in a calm voice, then warns him to watch out as the tree starts to drop. The colossal tree's massive trunk slams into the forest floor with a thunderous roar that rattles everything around it. Jaido slams his fist into the dirt, detonating the ground with a brutal shockwave that rips outward. Ryoichi and his fellow apprentice just gawk, eyes bulging, as that brutal display of power hits them like a punch. A chunk of solid rock bursts up from the ground, crashing the landslide and coming down just in time to stop the trees from falling. Ryoichi can't hold back. He rushes to his master and blurts out how he can learn to wield magic this incredible. Jaido takes a puff from his pipe and lays it out clearly. He's a craftsman, not some magic teacher. He tells Ryoichi to sprint into a bookshop and hunt down a magic book. In a dusty little shop, the cat-eared owner leans in and tells him the dark magic grimoire is insanely rare. Ryoichi trudges back to the rustic forest hideout, finally able to breathe after a brutally long day. Mary, the young innkeeper, lights up with a bright, cheerful smile and warmly welcomes him back. Mary's eyes flare with pure excitement as she spots the magic books he's lugging around. She can't wait, so she begs for a demonstration, and he decides to take it easy with a beginner spell. He closes his eyes and pulls in the ambient mana floating around him, then slings a quick, simple wind spell. That gust slams into Mary so hard it flips her skirt up and she lets out a panicked shriek. Bucket on his head, Ryoichi is absolutely mortified as Mary laughs and calls it a lucky accident. He cracks open the elemental chart and vows to grind nonstop until he masters every last one. He conjures a tighter, more controlled ball of fire right in the palm of his hand. His training cranks up to the max, and that insane 10x growth rate finally shows what it's truly capable of. He hammers his combat skills, and his fists ignite with crackling, magical power. A pack of vicious lesser wolves, once a mortal nightmare, now gets used as nothing but brutal training dummies. He blasts one of the beasts out of the fight with a single, thunderous magic-charged strike. As he sprints, he spots a cracked, overgrown stone path that vanishes straight into the woods. Ancient ruins, choked in twisting vines, snap his attention wide open. Inside, he stumbled into a huge central chamber. Two towering armored statues stood guard like silent sentinels. He strains with all his might to shove the massive stone door. Then it rips open with a brutal, grinding roar. In the very heart of the chamber, a massive stone tablet looms, etched with eerie ruins that feel like they're hiding a secret. He studies the inscription, and the moment it clicks, he spots the ruins for what they are: magic armor control testing grounds. He clocks the place as ancient as can be, and figures it's already been stripped clean by looters. Right when his thoughts start to spiral, a faint, steady tapping cuts through the silence like a warning beat. He scans the silent chamber, burning with questions about where that strange noise even came from. He jolts in shock because the sound is blasting from beneath the floorboards. He heaves up the heavy stone panel, and beneath it yawns a dark, bottomless cavern. He stares in shock at a tangled nest of thick cables, sparking faint bursts of electricity. He drops to his knees, staring at the ancient device, praying his modern knowledge can fix it. He yanks a portable generator out of his item box like it's straight out of his old life, and the thing hums into existence. As he restores the power, the giant magic armor golem roars to life, its eyes blazing with a dark, ominous glow. The golem surges up to its full, terrifying height, and the entire chamber gets swallowed by its presence. Ryoichi jerked his head up, eyes wide with shock, as the mechanical guardian powered back on right in front of him. With a shockingly fast lunge, the golem whips its giant sword and smashes the stone floor to pieces. Panic slams into him as he realizes the golem has wedged itself in front of the only exit. Trapped, he snaps into action and hurls a relentless storm of fireballs at the enemy. Powerful fire magic blasts straight into the golem's chest armor, exploding on impact. With a brutal thud, the golem plants one heavy step forward and pushes through the smoke like it owns the dark. It bursts out of the flames looking untouched. Its metal body is so clean it's barely even scorched. Ryuichi freezes in total disbelief because his magic does absolutely nothing at all. He charges in and launches himself at the golem, springing onto its massive stone arm. In the blink of an eye, the golem whips its other hand out and snatches a target right out of midair. Dread crashes over him as he realizes physical strikes do the same thing, nothing against that brutal armor. The golem clamps down with terrifying strength, and his bones start to crack and shatter. The golem looms over him as his battered body crashes onto the cold stone floor. As his vision dims and his strength slips away, he gives up to what he's convinced is his second death. Ryochi's god-tier body division skill triggers chaos. Suddenly 5 identical clones of him pop into existence. An infographic lays out the technique. Clones follow the original's commands, and the second their life force runs out, they vanish. The clones scan the disaster and realize something terrifying. Magic didn't work, and their hits couldn't land either. One clone fires off divine appraisal, scans his own stats, and gets ready to make the next move. A clone snaps out a dark incantation, yanking a terrifying power straight out of the abyss. His eyes flare wide with grim resolve as he raises his hands to unleash abyss darkness. A flood of darkness and rattling spectral skulls bursts out of the magic circle at his feet. A swirling maelstrom of pure darkness tightens, then explodes forward straight at the golem. The golem roars in pain as that vile spell's crushing pressure starts splitting its armor wide open. The ancient machine explodes with raw power, then crumples into rubble the instant it shatters. Right after everything goes quiet, a hologram of a young woman flickers back to life, sparking into view like a warning. The AI bursts in, calling herself a brand new creation from the Sanctica Magic Tool Company. She shoots Ryuichi a quick thank you for the purchase, then jumps straight into the very first setup protocol. Ryuichi, beaten to the brink and running on fumes, only lets out a weak groan as confusion crashes over him. He asks for a general purpose setup, and the AI springs into action, tailoring the whole system from the ground up. Ryuichi gets jolted out of nowhere as a shocking new twist explodes inside the chamber. The other sleeping magic armors in the facility shut down at once, sensing him as their brand new master. Furia, the AI, snaps, "Master, are you okay?" because she spots how pale and badly wounded he looks. He struggles to get the words out, admitting the dark magic curse he unleashed is killing him. Furia stays cool as ice, says she already studied his powers, then declares she'll use one of them on him. Ryuichi snaps his head up in pure shock, stunned by what she's about to do next. An infographic lays out the god-tier adaptation, an insane power that wipes out every nasty status effect like it never happened. A quick flashback slams us into the moment. Kamishiro watches Ryuichi pick out his abilities. Ryuichi finally clicks that this was the last power he picked, and his jaw drops when he realizes the AI can fire it off too. Furia gives a small, shaky smile and asks her brand new master if there's anything else she can do. Ryuichi fires a question at Furia, the AI, is there anything else hidden in this facility? Furia spots all **16 magic armors locked in the forward storage bay. Ryuichi still remembers the moment he spotted magic armor carved into the stone right at the entrance. Furia tells him the machines are finally ready to ship, but somehow eons have already slipped by. She figures the exact details of their purpose have vanished into the past. Freshly awakened, she shoots out a trembling apology for the fact that she can't remember her past. Ryuichi can't stop thinking she must have been alone, and that idea is so hard to grasp it rattles her. He flashes a smile and shrugs like, it's okay if you can't feel how lonely it gets. As he walks out, Perry locks onto him with unwavering eyes, swearing she'll be right here when he comes back. Ryuichi bursts out of the forest, gripping the controls of a colossal, many-legged mech. Jaido and the whole guild stare in shock as he steps out with the legendary machine. From the cockpit, Ryuichi snaps that the machine is too old, too broken, and won't move a single bit right. He claims he snagged the operation manual and even a stash of maintenance parts for it. His guildmates are totally stumped, staring at the manual like the ancient script is laughing at them. Jaido tells him, you found it, so that massive machine is yours to keep. Then he leans in and fires a question at Ryuichi. Can you really fix something that insanely complex? Ryuichi grins and tells you that fixing machines is his favorite hobby, one he's shared with his father. He clocks in and rips the power tool to life. Sparks explode into the air like a fiery storm. A voice erupts in pure amazement, screaming at the jaw-dropping sight of the giant golem. Mary and a sharp-looking girl with glasses, Nassel, touch down to see what's going on. Ryuichi leaps onto the mech's top and fires off a sharp question. Mary, what brings you to the guild? Nasa introduces herself, then says Mary panicked when he didn't come home. Jaido bursts into laughter and tells them, Ryuichi's been messing with that machine in his spare time. Mary snaps, that's not why we're here. even as the accusation throws her into a total panic. She bursts in and announces, "We're here to rope the guild into a trip to the dwarven village." Ryoichi snaps his gaze down from his work, stunned that they're even suggesting a tour. Nasa lays out her plan. She'll hire those skilled craftsmen as escorts for her caravan. Jaido grins and gladly accepts on the spot. After all, the door's branch was already on the delivery schedule. Days later, the caravan finally rips into motion, crashing deeper into the dense woods on its journey. Ryoichi says the trek feels just like the wild, old-school camping trips from his childhood. The guild boys flirt shamelessly with the girls, then slap on a serious warning. Monster attacks could be coming any day. Jaido's face snaps cold the moment he feels danger creeping up on the path ahead. A swarm of twisted forest monsters bursts out of the trees and slams right into their path, cutting off every escape route. Jaido roars at his men to yank their weapons free and get ready to clash. The mages and archers get shoved into the backlines, ready to rain support from the rear. Mary plants her feet and refuses to back down, gripping her trusty frying pan like it's a weapon made for war. A monster bursts out of the bushes and charges her. She yelps a terrified scream on the spot. Ryuchai lunges in front of her and smashes the creature apart with his power drill. He shoots Mary a grateful look and orders her to slide even farther back into the defensive formation. Staring down the swarm, he realizes there's just no way he can take them one by one. He cups crackling energy in his hand, ready to unleash a devastating spell. He slams down a web of lightning that snaps between the monsters, leaving them reeling in pure shock. Those creatures get zapped on the spot and he grins like, "Piece of cake, easy victory." His guildmates freeze in shock, staring at him like, "Wait, were you a powerful mage the whole time?" He grins and tells him his power must have shot up after he crushed the golem. Jaido refuses to be overshadowed and hypes up his own jaw-dropping earth magic showdown. He hammers his fists into the ground, and a gigantic chasm tears open under the monsters like the earth just snapped. That night, the crew huddles around a roaring campfire, with their supplies stacked right beside them. Jaido fawns over Ryuichi's item box, praising it like a battle lifesaver that keeps him stocked and ready for anything. Ryoichi jumps in, saying their supplies are fresh, and promises they can turn them into a full-on feast. Their daily rations are rock-hard bread, cured meat, sharp cheese, and a handful of vegetables. Ryoichi takes one bite and immediately squints. This bread's rock-hard, the meat's way too salty, and the whole meal feels utterly unappetizing. As he stares at the plain stack of ingredients, a wild idea hits him like lightning. He jumps into the prep, slicing bread, chopping meat, and grating cheese until the whole place smells like a feast. Then he digs into his magical item box and yanks out a bottle of Caesar dressing like it's the key to everything. He proudly declares that the Caesar salad is finally finished and ready to devour. Mary and Nassel stare at the bowls, hooked by how wildly different this preparation is. Nassel digs in and takes her first bite of the salad, her face tightening with fierce concentration. Their eyes blow wide with pure joy as they burst out, "This is insanely delicious." Jaido devours his portion in one go, staring like, "Wait, I hate vegetables," and realizing he actually loves it. The whole party crowds around Ryoichi, practically vibrating with excitement as they beg him, over and over, to let them buy the dressing. Mary grips her bottle tight, swearing she'll treasure it and burn through it fast. Nasa leans in and asks how he plans to sell all that, and he grins. His breeding box can just crank out even more. Nassel pushes her glasses up, and the moment her eyes catch on, they gleam with a gold mine of profit. After a calm night under the stars, the caravan slams into motion, racing toward their destination. At last, they crash through the last stretch and stare up at the brutal stone walls of the dwarven city, home of the dwarf. Ryoichi can't help but stare. Those cobblestone streets inside the city are so well paved they look downright unreal. Mary grins and blurts out that her uncle runs a cozy inn right inside the city walls. Jaido tells everyone to get settled, and he and Ryoichi sprint off to bring the lumber. At the local guild branch, they rush the shipment straight to the dwarven guild master. The dwarf leans in, checks the order, and demands to know if they can somehow toss in even more wood. Jaido grins and notices the city's economy must be thriving, because things are clearly booming. The dwarf bursts out that a fresh vein of magic has been uncovered, and suddenly everyone is scrambling for timber like their lives depend on it. The guild hall is crammed to the rafters with stacks of lumber and freshly made wind furniture. Jaido bursts into laughter because with Ryuichi's item box, the delivery gets snapped into place in an instant. Once the deal was wrapped up, Jaido grinned and told them to ditch the work and go chase some fun with their newfound free time. His apprentices can't wait and start cooking up plans to ask Mary and Nasselot out on dates. Ryuichi decides to go solo, then consults his magical magical all-purpose map to chart his own path. He stares at the massive city and decides to hit the Adventurers Guild first. He storms up to the grand, ornate headquarters of the local Adventurers Guild. The mustachioed guildmaster stands encircled by the monster parts Raiachi dragged in to sell. He flips through the materials like a pro, and his eyes widen. These are from a rare, top-tier golem. Ryuchai admits he's brand new, and the stunned master immediately declares he'll sponsor his membership. He grabs his official adventurer's card, and just like that, he's got the real-world proof he needs to move. He storms out of the guild, determined to hunt down that magic, or the mine he's been hearing rumors about. There he spots a young girl begging miners for work, then they brush her off like she's nothing. The red-haired girl throws herself at their feet, begging with shaking urgency, she'll do anything they ask. Raiachi strides up to a nearby shopkeeper and grills them, asking what in the world is going on with that distraught girl. The woman tells the girl her father is gone, his mind collapsed, and now there's a monster-sized debt hanging over them. If she can't cough up the debt by tomorrow, they'll drag her into slavery and call it payment. Ryuichi is totally stunned, blurting out, "Is there anything we can do for a little kid this small?" He's staring at a debt of 250 gold coins, an insane, nearly impossible number to scrape together just by mining. She's also fighting to scrape together money for her sick little sister's medical treatments. The mine collapse that wiped out her father came back to haunt her, because it was somehow tied to the new Irving. To mine something truly valuable, you gotta be a member of the Stoneworkers Guild. The shopkeeper's height dwarfed her. There was no way her frail little body could handle that kind of work. Ryuichi hears the heartbreaking tale, and his face darkens with grim sorrow. As the sun sinks, the girl crumples into the dirt, completely broken, hope gone. She collapses into sobs, begging forgiveness from her sister Moa and her late father for letting them down. Ryoichi strides up to her with a brand new guild card in hand, then demands she come with him. Mia snaps her gaze upward, frozen in shock as Ryuchai says, "Now it's my turn to save you." They finally hit the 6th mine, and the guard instantly demands their guild card. The foreman clocks that Ryoichi is brand new and leans in, demanding answers about the young kid beside him. Mia stands right beside Ryuichi, then offers the form with a small, polite bow. The foreman snaps his head up when he spots Mia, blindsided that someone actually dragged her all the way to the mines. Mia's voice cracks as she tells everyone how, without Raiachi's help, she would have been completely lost. The foreman leans in, dead serious, realizing just how brutal her situation really is. He can't hold it in. He breaks down over her father's loss, her sister's illness, and the way the whole family was ripped away. He shoots them a warning: this mine is death on a bad day, not a shortcut to get rich fast. The mine's interior is pitch black, and shaky, rickety wind beams groan like they're seconds away from snapping. The foreman warns that the hot-headed men chasing fortune are locked in non-stop fights. He shoves a simple, hand-drawn map into Mia's hands, showing the mine's known tunnels. Mia sinks into despair as she sees the chaos, and realizes there's no way they can pull this off on their own. Ryuchai nods, admitting that once the brawls never stop, hunting down that thing is going to be a brutal struggle. He consults his magical all-purpose map and watches a much clearer layout snap into view. Mia snaps in shock, demanding to know, does he truly have an all-purpose map? She leans in close and blurts, stunned that the map is actually moving. Ryuchai tells them it updates in real time, pinpointing their exact location with scary, perfect precision. Mia's eyes ignite with a brilliant idea the moment she realizes what that map could do. She drops to her knees on the rocky ground, yanks out a book, and kicks off her work. With Ryuchai's map in hand, she starts carving a trail of clues in the dirt, sketching like her life depends on it. She flips her father's journal open and straight up tells him it's packed with every shred of his research. She fuses the map's real-time data with her father's geology notes. She finally finished her wild diagram of runes and geometric shapes. She jabs a finger at the map with a triumphant grin because she nailed the Great Van's location from the start. Ryuichi's jaw drops at her talent and he blurts out praise. She's shockingly smart. Mia's grin snaps into terror as she realizes she'll never make it to that spot. She snaps that the route goes a totally different way, so they'll have to dig a brand new tunnel. It's just the two of them, no tools at all, and she feels totally powerless, like the world just shut its doors on her. Her eyes snap to Raiachi and her hope hangs by a single thread, the word tools. She challenges him, asking if he even came prepared. Like, did he bring any tools at all, maybe even a pickaxe for the job? Ryuichi snaps his fingers and whips a brand new pickaxe out of his item box like a magician. He grins and tells you that every last tool is locked up tight inside his item box. He throws the pickaxe aside on the spot, swearing it'd take forever and move way too slow. Then he calls up his colossal magic armor, and it slams into place with a bone-rattling thud. He grins at Mia like he's got this, tells her to hop in and to hold on tight. Mia stood right in front of the colossal machine, her voice trembling as she asked, "Am I really supposed to climb inside?" Ryoichi sits in the cockpit and blasts out, "All right, dig in. It's time to start digging." The magic armor's engine blasts to life with a thunderous mechanical roar. Mia lets out a thrilled scream and clings to Ryuchai's back like her life depends on it as they surge forward. The mech's drill arms blast through the solid rock wall in front of it, crushing everything in their path. It blasts open a fresh tunnel and hurls huge chunks of rock flying in every direction. Mia gasps in pure shock, yelling, "What's happening?" as the mech thrums and shakes beneath her. The magical armor blasts straight through the mountain, carving out a razor-clean tunnel as it roars past. Ryuchai can't believe it. This machine digs deep and rebuilds the ground at the same time. He yanks out a box of Sister Donut and a bunch of other treats, then dives into a quick break. Mia leans in and asks what's in the box, because that insanely sweet smell is hitting her like a punch. He leans in and tells you the truth. Those aren't just treats, they're donuts, the heavenly fried bread from his world. Mia takes a bite, her throat bobbing as she gulps down that sweet treat. Blushing hard, she insists she's not hungry, scrambling to bury her embarrassment before anyone notices. But her stomach immediately betrays her with a thunderous rumble. Ryoichi leans in and asks if she wants a different snack, but she shuts it down. No, it's this one. She's crushed by guilt for having fun when her sister Moa is sick. She still remembers her father burning himself out, giving up his own food just so they could eat. Guilt crashes down on her and she bows her head, unable to even taste this tiny moment of happiness. Ryoichi snaps to the truth. She can't forgive herself for even a single second of happiness. The magic armor's giant drill screeches to a stop as it slams headfirst into a solid rock wall. The machine shuts down with a violent whir, its arms sagging, and Ryoichi's mind races. What in the world just happened? A vicious hiss blasts through the cockpit as the power dies completely. Ryoichi clamps down on the control stick, only to realize it's totally useless now. His eyes snap to a weird, glowing gauge sitting on the control panel. He jerks in shock. This is a fuel meter, and the needle is pinned on empty. He bursts out that the fuel's gone, and suddenly they're left stranded in the dark. The machine sits dead still, buried deep underground and trapped where no one can reach it. Mia's chest tightens, she panics, convinced her own idea is the reason he's trapped here. She blurted out a heartfelt apology, convinced that the second anyone gets tangled up with her, their whole world turns sour. Tears spill into her eyes as she thinks of Moa, her father, and then Ryoichi. Ryoichi calmly whirls toward Mia and demands to know why she's blaming herself. Suddenly, the magic armor's engines kicked back on with a thunderous roar and a spine-tingling hum. The cockpit lights blaze back on, and both of them jerk out of their despair like they just got yanked by the collar. Mia gasps in total shock and disbelief as she realizes the machine is roaring back to life and moving again. Ryoichi channels mana and flat-out declares that the mech's real power source isn't technology, it's magic. He pours every last ounce of power into it, then blasts the mech forward again, roaring into battle. The story snaps to the dazzling front of the town's moneylender's shop. The bulky moneylender shuts Mia down again and again, telling her there's no point, no matter how hard she begs. He slams his words down. The 250 gold coin debt is due by morning, no delays, no exceptions. Mia swings on a hard hat and unveils a jaw-dropping mountain of glittering gold coins. The moneylender roars in total shock, demanding to know how she clawed together that kind of fortune. Mia tells everyone that Mr. Ishikawa didn't just stay behind, he rode along with her all the way to the mine for the magic ore. The man stared at Ryoichi and demanded to know, was he the one who helped her? He can't shake the thought that in his own line of work, he's watched so many people get crushed by divine punishment. You can't help feeling Mia was doomed to meet a cruel, pointless end behind cold, locked cell bars. Ryoichi's out there being kind, and he's honestly grateful for someone like that, good-hearted to the core. Ryoichi shoved the last of the money into Mia's hands and demanded she spend it on living expenses. Mia sobs through her tears, insisting that he's far too kind-hearted. She bursts into tears with pure relief because she and her sister Moa are finally free at last. Under a dark, starless night, Mia grabs Ryoichi and guides him straight to her tiny home. She ushers him into their stone house, apologizing nonstop for the messy chaos inside. Ryoichi spots the place spotless and pristine, but every last room is totally stripped, empty, with not a single piece of furniture in sight. Mia squeezes out a sad smile and admits they sold every last thing they could get their hands on. It came packed with her father's book stash and every single family keepsake they'd ever saved. As Mia closes in on the door, a shaky voice inside cracks through the silence, demanding to know who's there. Mia slips in with a candle, then softly asks her sister Moa, "Can you wake up?" She steps in and tells Ryuichi, "Because of you, our debt is finally wiped clean." Moa lays sick in bed, trembling as she whispered in shock, begging him to tell her the dead were really gone. She stares at her sister, eyes wide open, clinging to fragile hope like an unspoken question. Ryuichi's eyes narrowed the instant he felt a sinister aura crawling out of the sick child. The Grim Reaper hangs over the two sisters as Mia fights to soothe the weak, fading Moa. Moe's body shatters into shimmering particles, and in that last burst he tells Mia, "It's okay, we can finally stay together." Clutching her fading sister, Mia leans in and tells Ryuichi that this freedom is all because of him. With a shaky, disappearing smile, little Moa pours out her thanks to Ryuichi. Ryuichi leaned in and asked the frail kid if he wanted to try using recovery magic. He yanks his power into motion, and a shimmering ring of water magic bursts into the air. With a fierce shout, he hurled the heal water spell at her. A surge of powerful magic sizzles in the air, then vanishes completely, leaving absolutely nothing to show for it. Ryuichi stands there in shock because his healing spell gets totally wiped out, no trace, no effect. He can't help but wonder what kind of wild detoxification magic could possibly exist. Mia assures him it's totally fine because they only wanted to thank him. She tells him that even the most expensive noble medicines didn't just fail, they actively made everything worse. Ryuichi clocks that this isn't some ordinary sickness, so he snaps into action with his divine appraisal. The skill rips the curtain off a horrifying truth. Moa is trapped in a terrifying advanced curse. Ryuichi freezes in place, staring with wide, shaking eyes as that brutal diagnosis hits like a nightmare. A jolt of memory crashes into him. It's the exact same curse the golem shoved into him. He rips open his grimoire, praying it'll reveal a cure for the dark magic that's swallowing everything. The book's pages are packed with bleak curse diagrams, like they're warning you with every grim line. He scans the words at lightning speed, desperately hunting for a way to rip it out. Rage hits him when he flips the book open and realizes it's nothing but methods to cast curses. He whips around to Moa and blurts out, "There's one last thing I've gotta try." A chilling curse crawls out of Moa, then crashes into Ryuichi with a violent surge. He can't even breathe, sheer agony from that little girl's suffering hits him like a wrecking ball. The curse crashes over him, dragging his body down as his mind starts to slip away into nothing. He remembers the divine power he was handed the moment he arrived here. He triggers a god-tier adaptation, and a blinding burst of golden light explodes out. Gomia barrels over to his side, demanding to know if he's really okay after that brutal ordeal. The curse finally broke and Moa sinks into her bed and sleeps like the nightmare never existed. Ryuichi and Mia finally let out a breath because the curse is gone. He finally clocks it. His recovery magic is about to kick in for real now. Ryuichi blasts heal water onto Moa for the second time. A soft healing glow spills over the sleeping girl, and her strength comes roaring back. Moe's eyes flutter open, and the moment she starts waking up, you can feel it, like the world is just now coming back to life. She blinks in disbelief, stunned that the pain, the numbness, and the fever are all gone. With a surge of fresh energy, she springs off her bed, grinning wide with pure joy. She blurts to her sister that her body feels so light and so unbelievably wonderful. Mia can't believe it. She blurts out to her sister, asking if she's really been healed for real. Moa flashes a radiant smile and confirms with full confidence that she's feeling amazing. Overwhelmed by emotion, Mia's eyes brimmed with tears of pure relief. The sisters locked in a tight, tearful hug, finally reunited and safe in good health. Mia bows again and again, thanking Ryuichi so fiercely that she can't stop wondering how on earth she'll ever repay him. He just winks at her, grinning like, "I'm so damn relieved you're okay." Ryuichi's stomach lets out a thunderous growl that instantly shatters the tension. He looks around and realizes everyone's laid back, so he decides to step up and start cooking a real meal. The girls stare in pure disbelief as he snaps ingredients out of thin air like it's nothing. He jumps into the kitchen and starts whipping up a meal with his sleek, modern cooking tools. He says the dish his father always cooked for him when he was sick. The moment they start cooking, sizzling flames and mouth-watering aromas flood that tiny home. With a grin, he proudly declares that his beloved meatball udon is finally ready. The sisters stare in awe at the strange dish, and that incredible scent hits them like magic. Moa digs into her noodles with pure joy, while Mia's eyes start to panic, worried she's going way too far. Moho swears she's totally fine, and then pushes for even more food. Mia takes her first bite, and the flavor hits so hard she's instantly stunned. The sisters tear through their food and blurt out, mouth full, that it's outrageously delicious. They beg for forgiveness for demolishing the whole pot, but Ryoichi shrugs it off like it's no big deal. Then he cracks open his sister's donut box and shoves a sweet treat into their hands. Mia spots the donut and instantly realizes it's the exact one he slipped into her hands back at the mine. She tears into a big smiling bite of that sweet, fluffy pastry. Moa leans in and asks her sister, "Can I get one of those donuts too?" While the girls dig in, tears suddenly flood Mia's face as she can't hold it in anymore. She leans in and demands to know why Ryuch has been treating them with such unreal kindness. Ryuchai stares with a hard, serious face, weighing his words like every syllable could change everything. He tells them that in his home world, keeping kids safe is just the normal thing people do. He admits it, pure envy, that tight bond hit him hard because he has nobody waiting for him at home. His sudden heartbreaking confession hits the two sisters like a wave, and they can't even find words. Mia rushes in to apologize for Moa's brutally blunt take, that it's just pitiful. Moa hears he's lonely and bam, an idea lights up her mind like a spark. She boldly announces, "I'm marrying you, so I can finally become your family." Mia turns bright red with embarrassment and tells her younger sister, "I'm only 7, okay?" Moa insists that Mia, at just 12 years old, should marry him. Then she grins and springs onto Ryoichi like, "I'm your little sister now." Flustered, Mia keeps ripping into her sister, scolding her for being way too forward. Ryoichi grins, gently pats Moa's head, and warmly accepts that adorable new sister into their world. When night finally drops, he slams the decision into place and heads back to the inn. He bursts back outside into the crisp, moonlit night and heads for home. A voice snaps from behind him, ordering him to stop right now. Mia leaned in and demanded to know what he was planning, and whether he'd stick around in town. He tells everyone, "I'll be back in Io's village in just a few days." Moa clings to him, sobbing that she can't bear to see him go. Tears flood her eyes as she pleads, "Take me with you, I need to go with my new brother." Ryuichi is thrown off the rails as Mia blurts out an apology for her sister's stubborn streak. Tears spill down Mia's face as she finally whispers, "I feel the same way." Ryuichi snaps to it, letting them run free without a guardian is straight up dangerous. He believes guarding them is the real reason he's been dropped into this new life. He glances down at the two girls, and determination hardens across his face. The sisters stare up at him, begging, pleading with everything they've got, not to let them be separated. With a fierce, unblinking stare, Ryoichi makes his final call. He nods in total delight and blurts out, grinning wide, that they're officially family now. Next morning, the sun blasted over the land nearby, spilling light like a brand new start. Two of Ryoichi's guildmates can't help but wonder where he's gone. They're furious that he ditched the party and then finally shows up late, acting like nothing happened. Their master, Jaido, is sprawled on the floor, utterly knocked out from drinking. Ryuchai shows up out of nowhere, waves them in, and demands they step inside for a proper introduction. Mia and Moa nervously introduce themselves as Ryoichi's new family, their shyness showing the whole way. The moment the announcement hits, the whole guild drops completely speechless. He lunges in and grabs Ryoichi by the collar, barking, "Tell me, who are these gorgeous girls?" The sisters told me how Ryoichi stepped in and took them in after their father died. The craftsmen are left reeling, trying to wrap their heads around the fact that he has sisters. Finally, one of them clocked what was really going on. They slam into the real-world headache, taxes, and legal guardianship. They all rush to the magistrate's hall to slam the paperwork in. A clerk leans in and tells them the parole family is drowning in massive unpaid taxes. Ryoichi slams the debt shut with a huge, glittering mountain of gold. A stunned Moa jabs a finger forward, blaring that their adoption just got officially approved. Ryoichi tells the girls, "They spotted you because you finally cleared those back taxes, years of them." He tells Mia the money is hers by right, her father found that priceless magic, and now it finally comes back to her too. Mia glanced down, her chest tightening as the mention of her late father hit her like a wave. Ryoichi grabs Mia's shock by the heart and reassures her, she's family now, so she doesn't have to worry. Mia's cheeks flare with happy blush as she calls him her big brother, and Moa shoots her a wink, so thrilled to finally have a sister. From far away, a voice screams that Ryoichi is out on a date with some girl. Mary jabs a finger in the air like it's about to explode, while Nassel smirks beside her, already sensing a scandal about to hit. Ryoichi spins around, stunned to spot his friends from his right there. As Mary closes in, he blurts out a shaky explanation, insisting it's not a date. Mary drops to her knees, grinning, and tells him she heard he'd taken in 2 orphan sisters. Mia shyly steps up and introduces herself, and then her younger sister Moa blasts in with an even more energetic intro. Mary and Nassel freeze in place, completely struck dumb by that girl's jaw-dropping cuteness. They barely waste a second before showering the sisters with praises, gushing about how adorable their faces and lovely hair are. Nassel spots their ragged clothes and snaps, "We're hitting the store shopping trip now." Shimea gets yanked into a brand new outfit, an adventure-ready tunic and shorts that actually work when things get wild. Right when the energetic Moa opens her gift, she's handed a cute, frilly dress that screams her personality. As the crew keeps moving, Ryoichi wrestles with the bags while Nassel chips in, "Let's hunt for accessories next." Moa spots a building and shoots her finger at it, practically vibrating with excitement. That's a bookstore. She can't wait and rushes up to her new big brother, begging to go inside so they can flip through picture books together. A cheerful beast person shopkeeper greets them with a huge grin, then slaps on a sweet discount just for guild members. Ryuchai leans in and asks if she has a branch in IAS, and she lights up, saying yes proudly, without hesitation. He storms through the magic book section, while Moa dives into the lower shelves, hunting for answers. Moe's eyes suddenly blaze as she sucks in a breath and spots that special-looking book. Ryuichi stumbles on a secret tome, tucked away where most adults would never even think to look. Moa flashes a proud grin and reveals her prize, a cutting-edge grimoire packed with lightning magic. That little girl is glowing with pride, clutching the picture book she picked all by herself. Ryuchai scoops Moa onto his back with a piggyback, and she proudly hoists her brand new book high like she just won the day. Mary from inside NASA is grinning as she gushes, saying Ryoichi is already showing he's going to be an awesome big brother. The next day, Ryuichi is up on the sisters' stone house roof, slamming repairs into place. He fires off a pneumatic nail straight from his busted world, then slams the roof shut with impossible speed. He wipes his brow and grins, those leaks are gone, while the girls cheer down below. That evening, Moa practically beams as she holds up her book and begs him, "Read it to me." A hero ripped out of another world bursts in to rescue a captive elven princess. Ryuichi reads to them, grinning like crazy, because here he is, telling a fantasy story inside a real, living fantasy world. The hero fires up a magical chainsaw and rips the princess' chains off like they're nothing. Ryoichi froze in shock, instantly recognizing the tool, then the big question hit him. Is this story even real? Mia catches him off guard and blurts out that the story he heard is real, dead real. She tells you the hero's trail leads to a city-state called Centris, built around a towering giant tree. Ryuichi suddenly realizes he's clueless about this world, like he hasn't even scratched the surface, especially when it comes to the other transfers. The tale ends with the hero and princess locking eyes, tying the knot, and riding off into a forever after filled with happiness. He realizes he has to race back to the finish line before his master's rage explodes. He looks down and there are Mia and Moa, both fast asleep, cuddled up against him like they've finally found peace. The next chapter kicks off with Ryuichi and Jado standing toe-to-toe with the terrifying Shout Bear King. Ryuichi finally stumbles back to the inn, and with a heavy apology for being so unbelievably late, he makes it right. Jado sinks into silence, grimacing hard as he raises the cup and drinks deep. He slams his mug down, rage blazing, and demands to know why Ryuichi vanished all night. Ryuichi's flustered beyond belief. He blurts out his master's name in a stammer, totally blindsided. Mia takes a shaky step forward and tells Jado, straight to his face, that it was their fault. The sisters burst into apologies, telling him, "We fell asleep right when you tried to leave." Jado whipped around, stunned, and blurted, "Wait, who are those 2 little girls?" The other guild members spill the news. Ryuichi has officially claimed them as his sisters. Jado mutters that if they're his apprentice's family, then there's no debate, case closed. Rage evaporates, tears flood his eyes, and he breaks into joy as he welcomes them, his granddaughters. Jado pulls a totally ridiculous face, and Moa breaks into a huge, unstoppable burst of laughter. His apprentices stare, shocked at how fast he's turned into a total doting uncle. Outside the inn, Mary leans in and asks if the girls are coming back to IAS with them. Moa beams and announces, "Ryoichi and I are going on a journey together." Mary and Nassel freeze in shock at this sudden bombshell. Jado hears it and whips around in disbelief, staring at Ryuichi like, "Wait, are you really leaving?" He snaps in front of his apprentice and demands an answer. Are you really quitting the guild? Ryuichi leans in and admits he's itching to hit the road, because he wants to learn everything he can about this world. Jado sits there stone-faced, but you can see his jaw clench like he's holding back a storm. He grabs Ryoichi with those cutting words, claiming he thinks he's already learned everything, and the disappointment hits so hard you can feel it in the air. Jaido twists away and strides off, barking at him to do whatever he wants. Ryoichi stares as he walks away, quietly muttering an apology under his breath, still blaming himself for the mix-up. He drops to his knees and soothes a trembling Moa, telling her, straight up, that she did nothing wrong. Mia worries and asks if he's really leaving tomorrow. She begs him to settle their feud and make a Jaido before he walks out the door. Ryuchai stood there as his sisters walked away, guilt hitting him hard as he realized he'd made them worry. Another apprentice leans in and tells him, Jaido's not a threat, he's just lonely, and somehow that lands like a calm breath in the chaos. That night, the guild crowds in and forces Ryoichi to celebrate with a real farewell party. At the tavern, Ryoichi scans the room, and his master Jaido is still nowhere to be found. An apprentice mutters that Jaido's probably sulking right now, and that he'll pop up later like clockwork. Then he shoves a cloth bundle into Ryoichi's hands, an exact gift his master sent. Ryuchai tears the wrapping off, and there it is, a gorgeous dwarven battle axe crafted to perfection. Jaido slipped him a special commission, one packed with an Oryachi help mind that was pure magic. Ryuichi breaks into a smile, heartsick with gratitude for that rough-edged but deeply thoughtful goodbye gift. The next morning, the caravan snaps into motion and lines up to roll out through the city gates. Mary throws on a bright grin and leads the crew in a joyful send-off as they kick off their journey back to IS Village. Jaido and the rest of the guild march like a storm cloud, grimly locking in his arm guards. The sisters are buzzing with excitement, chattering non-stop about what the IS Village is going to feel like. Mia glances back with worry and asks Ryoichi straight up, is the cart too heavy for you? He leans in, reassures her that they're okay and still light on their feet, and tells her Moa has to get some rest. Mia grins and says the cart ride feels like slipping on magical armor. Then she asks if he finally managed to patch things up with his buddy Jaido. Ryuchai gives a bittersweet smile and admits with a heavy heart that he couldn't do it. Elsewhere, Jaido snaps and grumbles that he's dying to thank Ryuchai, yet he can't bring himself to say it. Then boom, their way gets slammed shut by a snarling horde of bizarre monsters. Ryuichi tightens his grip, ready to unleash his brand new, advanced lightning magic and wipe them all out in one brutal strike. Jaido strides forward and a crushing aura erupts from his body like a blazing storm. His eyes burn bright as he locks in and pours all that terrifying power into the moment. He slams his foot into the ground with earth-shaking force. The monster's world starts to split, cracks race across the ground and it shatters beneath them. With a brutal heave, he tears open a chasm that gulps the whole pack in one snap. Ryoichi and the girls whip their eyes from the cart, frozen in shock at the sheer, brutal power he just unleashed. They all whispered that the master's foul mood somehow worked in their favor, pushing them to improve faster. As evening creeps in, the whole crew spots the perfect clearing and finally drops in to stop. Jaido points to the quiet clearing with the old fire pit and says, "This is perfect, our camp's going right here." The guild jumps into action, staking the tent up and getting everything ready for the night ahead. Ryuchai strides up to his two sisters, and they're staring at the ground like something huge is about to happen. He asks what's wrong, and Moa suddenly shouts to her big brother. Moa leans in and says her older sister, Mia, is freaking out over something. Mia points to the ground and screams that the weird dents look exactly like monster-sized footprints. Ryuichi kneels, snapped into realization that the tracks were enormous, way bigger than any normal monster could ever leave behind. He finally spots Jaido, his master, and practically bursts with questions about the discovery. Jaido just cuts him off cold, saying they'll talk again the moment they're back in the village. He whips his head away and snaps that he's just not in the mood to talk. Jaido strides away, and a worried Ryoichi is left alone out in the woods. Ryoichi realizes he's got no way out, so he has to go ask the other guild members for answers. One of the guys laughs it off, swearing their campsite is totally safe. They try to lift his spirits with laughs, telling him to come back again once he's older. Ryoichi agrees to let it go for now, but that gut twist unease doesn't fade. As the night creeps in, the camp sinks into a tense hush beneath the stars. In her tent, Mia collapses into sleep, but you can tell her dreams are fighting for their life. She jerks awake with her eyes blazing wide, dread crashing through her like thunder. Under flickering lantern light, she drops to her knees and studies the magical map like it's about to reveal her next move. Sleep fog drifts off as Mary jolts upright and demands, "Mia, why are you awake?" Mia blurts out an apology for waking you, saying a bad gut feeling shoved her to check the map. She just realized the map won't stay still, it keeps rewriting itself, carving a fresh road straight through the mountains. Panic claws at her chest as she screams for everyone to wake up, because something colossal is charging straight toward them. A tight close-up slams into his face, terror so raw it looks carved there. The night gets ripped open by frantic patan pan clanging, loud enough to wake the whole world. Guild members snap awake from their sleep, bursting into confused shouts as the sudden alarm screams through the night. Mary and Mia march up to Guildsman and demand to know where Master Jido is. The man jabs a finger at Jido's empty bedroom and snaps, "See, he's not here." Mia frantically blurts out where her brother Ryuichi has vanished too. She's told it's Ryachi's turn right now to take the night watch and keep guard all night. Ryuichi stands on guard, brooding over the mysterious footprints, praying his worst fear is wrong. A sudden rustle from the nearby bushes snaps his nerves on full blast. A colossal griffin explodes out of the trees and Ryoichi's gut drops. He knows that thing is the threat. The griffin's thunderous wingbeats slam through the air, blasting leaves and feathers into a wild storm. On the nearby hill, Jido sits by himself, drowning in a storm of troubled thoughts. He tips the flask and takes a long, slow drink, like he's wrestling with thoughts etched into a furious frown. Moa rockets up behind him, screaming his name like her life depends on it. She panics and blurts that a giant monster is on its way, and that everyone's hunting for him right now. Jido nods along like she warned him for a reason, then tells her he'll be there in a heartbeat. A griffin's shadow sweeps over him, and his eyes snap open, pure panic flashing across his face. He shoves Moa behind him for protection, barking at her to hide from the beast. The griffin shrieks as it dives like a missile, talons bared and stretched out to strike its next victim. Jido digs in his heels, gripping his resolve tight, ready to slam straight into the creature's charge. Ryoichi storms onto the scene, roaring a warning at his master. Jido waves him away, barking at his apprentice to stay back. He smirks and waves off the flying monster like it's nothing but an annoying bug. Swearing he can handle it solo, he rockets forward to clash with the griffin. Jido's punch lands and the creature screams in pure agony. Bleeding and bruised, the griffin stumbles back in panic, tearing across the forest canopy. Jido swears they'll track it to the ends of the world and bring it down for good. A bone-chilling, guttural roar erupts out of nowhere, rattling the entire forest like it's about to split in two. Under the full moon, that sound rattles the whole night, like the air itself can't hold steady. Jido stared into the dark and it hit him. The roar was blasting straight from the griffin's direction. Shock and pure, unfiltered terror ripped across his face. He barks orders at Ryuichi to grab Moa and bolt with the others right now. Ryuichi and Moa stare, stunned out of their minds, and fire questions at Jido. "What are you talking about?" Ryuichi won't budge. He digs in and vows to fight right beside his master. Jido erupts in furious shouts at him, screaming that he's a fool for defying him. He tells them they have to set up a diversion, because if they don't, they're all getting killed. Pushing through the leaves, a monstrous, blood-soaked face bursts into view, its glowing eyes burning through the dark. A gigantic demonic bear bursts out of nowhere, and there, hanging on its back, is the griffin's corpse, stabbed clean through. The behemoth slams a massive step into the clearing, and the ground trembles like it's about to crack. Ryuichi finally clicks that this is the real threat, and he slams his divine appraisal ability into action. The monster lets out a thunderous roar, and right on cue its status flashes, "Shout Bear King, level 68. Jido spots the legendary Lord of the Mountains, and his stomach drops because it's standing right here. He spills the secret stash to Ryuichi, then pushes him to hit the road and see the world. He grabs his apprentice by the shoulders and warns him, "Don't let your world shrink into chaos." Jido gathers his magic and orders Ryuichi to lock in. Think only about protecting his family from here on out. The Shout Bear King bellows in fury as Jido hurls his earth magic with crushing power. Jido hammers both fists into the ground, and a roaring wall of rock rockets up as a shield. As the head of the family, he barks orders for Ryuichi to go, swearing he'll shield them all with everything he's got. Moa lets out a terrified scream, clinging to her uncle Jido and begging him, "Please don't die." Ryuichi grabs her and blurts out, "We have to obey our master's order, no matter what." He bursts into a sprint, clutching his little sister and hauling her out of the chaos of the battle. A tiny comm panel freezes a cloudy night sky, hanging heavy above everything. Then the rest of the party spots him, yelling his name in pure panic and total confusion. Ryoichi halts in his tracks, and a fierce, grim determination hardens on his face. He whips around to face the whole group, snaps at them to calm down, and demands they listen. He unveils his revamped magic armor, and tells Mia that only she can pilot it. Mia buries her focus in that massive instruction manual, nodding like, "All right, I'll give it everything I've got." She cracks the ancient text in seconds, then instantly masters the machine's controls. A massive transport ship roars into motion, blasting off with the villagers and hauling them to safety. The guild members stare, jaws dropping, as the machine rockets through the speed like it's nothing. Inside, Moa beams and proudly tells everyone just how amazing her big sister really is. She fires off Rio's cheese plan, telling everyone to dump their mana straight into the extra fuel tanks. In the clearing, Jido stands with a grim face, watching the chaos explode around him. The Shout Bear King gapes wide, charging up for a brutal breath attack that's about to hit like a wrecking ball. It blasts out a vicious flood of dark energy, slamming straight into the fleeing transport. A brutal blast of raw destruction rips through the forest like a lightning strike. Ryoichi pilots a second magic armor, and it crashes into their path, eating the full impact head-on. Ryuchai's combat mech holds its ground, smoking hard from the brutal hit. He sizes up the scene and realizes the king's power sits at a brutal 68. His status screen pops up, and there it is. He's only level 24, so he hurls a curse at his own weak power. Teeth clenched, he snarls at the monster to crawl back into its cave and rot there. The Shout Bear King looms like a nightmare, and its full stats slam onto the screen so Ryoichi can't look away. Ryoichi thinks that once he's in that mech, he might finally get a real shot at fighting back. A sudden truth ignites in his eyes the moment he spots the change. The king posts its status, and boom, its attack power skyrockets because the rage just keeps feeding it. A furious bear surges up on its hind legs, lifting its brutal, massive claws to smash down. It slams its arm down with a bone-crushing roar, crushing straight through the magic armor. The bear's brutal grip crushes the mech's metal arm, bending it like paper in an instant. His arm gets ripped clean off in an instant, and the brutal impact hurls Ryoichi stumbling backward helpless. The colossal Shout Bear King unleashes a brutal roar, shredding the magic armor with every strike. Ryuichi's jaw drops as the creature's inhuman, monstrous strength crushes everything he thought was possible. Its massive claws slam down hard, smashing the mech's hull to pieces. He drops onto the wreckage, breathing out relief for every move his master taught him. He flashes back to how the enchanted weapon snapped into place, parrying a blow that would have crushed him. The axe drank up the impact, saving his body from getting crushed. The camera locks in on the dwarven axe's blade, still razor-sharp, untouched, and perfectly unscathed. Jido watches with proud satisfaction, nodding like, "Yep, your work is spot on, apprentice." Ryoichi decides to flood the beast with sheer numbers, banking everything on overwhelming it long enough to buy time. He triggers his god-tier body division and floods the world with clones. Ryoichi's army explodes out of their mechs, launching into the charge and slamming straight into the beast. His copies flood the monster, slashing into its thick hide, hacking it to pieces. Jido rubs his eyes hard, then freezes in disbelief when he spots multiple versions of his apprentice staring back at him. Ryuchai spills the truth: these aren't real people, they're clones, and once you beat them, they vanish for good. He pushes his master right now. Grab this escape opening and get back your strength. Jido gets shaken to his core, because his pathetic feelings hit hard as his apprentice risks everything to save his life. He's stunned to find the magic armor's engine is still roaring to life. The Shout Bear King hurls a terrifying blast of white-hot fire like a raging wall. Ryoichi and Jido are absolutely stunned. These bees can breathe out flames. Ryoichi watches in sheer terror as the monster surges at them again, ready to strike. He bellows for his master to get down, then shoves him aside before anything worse can happen. The fiery blast obliterates every last piece of the magic armor, reducing it to nothing but ash. He finally gets it: survival isn't a choice anymore, it's a fight. He's weighing whether to unleash his deadly combo of clones and dark magic. With grim determination, he realizes he has no other path left. The monstrous bear explodes forward, fangs bared as it unleashes a savage snarl. Ryuchai plants himself in place, eyes wide, panicking over the next desperate move he has to pull off. The beast's claws slash across the clearing, and the strike rips like a nightmare. Jido gets blasted into the air, sending him flying from the sheer force of that brutal, powerful attack. Blood erupts from his mouth as the hit leaves him barely hanging on, voice rasping and fading fast. Ryoichi can't forget Kamashiro's chilling warning that death is always lurking right around the corner. The monster jerks back, and a storm of black energy blasts out of its mouth. It jerks around for a split second, its huge, shaggy back fills the view right in front of them. The beast whips around again, those glowing white eyes locked onto its prey like a death sentence. It clamps onto Ryoichi's left arm with its claws, yanks it straight to its mouth. With a sickening crunch, his arm rips clean off his body. He blasts off with advanced lightning magic, and the beast gets staggered into stunned silence. He snaps his gaze toward his master, Jido, sprawled on the ground, badly wounded. When his mentor got hurt, ice-cold fury surged into his eyes like it didn't belong there. He yells for the monster to drop dead and blasts out one last, brutal dark spell. Jido groans through the smoke and wreckage, fighting to haul himself upright. His eyes blow wide with pure, jaw-dropping shock at what he's seeing. The Shout Bear King is swallowed whole by shadow, its body crumbling into nothing as it dissolves right before their eyes. Jido can't even process it. Somehow the legendary Mountain Lord is gone. He locks eyes with Ryoichi, frozen in silence amid the fiery wreckage. Ryoichi stands alone, axe dangling from his grip while his left arm is gone. Jido lurches ahead, breathless, and demands to know if Ryuichi was the one who pulled it off. Then he spots a bloody stump and blurts, "Where's my arm? What happened?" Ryoichi drops the truth. His real arm is still lying on the ground, and this one, it just regenerated. Jido is left speechless, staring in shock as he demands how on earth a cut-off limb could ever regrow. Ryuichi snaps his gaze away, mortified that his strangeness has finally given him away. He throws himself into an apology, begging his master's forgiveness for dragging him into such a grotesque, unnatural nightmare. He admits it's downright bizarre that a ripped-off arm just grows back like nothing happened. Jido just freezes there, silent for a long second, and his thoughts spin out of control. He clenches his fist, shock crashing off his face as a grin breaks through. He throws his head back and blasts out a roaring, cathartic laugh that feels like it's tearing the weight off his chest. He yanks Raichi's brand new hand and storms in like, "Round 2. Arm wrestling rematch time." He blurts out an apology for the harsh question, then shrugs and admits he truly doesn't care what Ryoichi thinks. He declares that Ryuichi is his savior and his proudest, greatest apprentice. The rest of the guild storms in, fists clenched, demanding to hear exactly what happened. He explains that once the villagers are safe, they come back for round 2. He leans in and tells Ryoichi just how insanely worried his sisters were for him. Mia sobs with pure relief, finally knowing her big brother is safe and breathing. Moa, balanced on her sister's shoulders, screams Ryoichi's name at the top of her lungs. Craftsmen lean back in shock, staring at the massive, dead beast like it's beyond real. They swarm around him, firing questions. How did he and Jido take down that monster? Ryoichi looked dazed and swore he just went on pure instinct, like his arm was almost swallowed whole. A guild member blurts out a worried question about his left arm and points out that the bleeding looks seriously bad. Ryoichi snaps his gaze down, and there on the ground sits his own severed arm. Crushed by exhaustion and ravaged by his injuries, he finally buckles and hits the ground hard. Jido clutches the severed arm overhead and hails Ryoichi as a hero. Later, he leans in and tells Ryoichi, "I buried the arm and I'll take this secret to the grave." The very next morning, the sun blasted over the quiet little village of IAS like it was daring everyone to wake up. In the hush of an inn room, birdsong floats in through the open window like a secret whisper. Ryoichi's eyelid twitches as he drags himself awake from his deep sleep. He bolts upright, bandages clinging to his body, and stares around like, "Where am I?" He spots a crowd of grateful villagers pressing right up to the window, staring in like they can't believe they made it. Mary stands outside and begs them to finally let Ryoichi, severely injured and barely holding on, rest. The villagers can't stop insisting they need to thank the savior who crushed the beast. Mary only tells them one thing: the ones tied to the inn may enter. Nassel grins and teases that if you buy something, you'll get a ticket to come see him. Ryoichi locks eyes with them and his stomach drops. He finally realizes he's slipped into the forest respite. He jerks, feeling a sudden stir right beside him under the blankets. He jolts awake, shocked to see Mia and Moa curled up fast asleep in his bed. He can't believe they're in his bed, like, why here when there are plenty for everyone? Moe jolts awake, blinking her eyes open with a sleepy, half-mumbled groan. She flashes a bright smile and calls out, "Good morning, big brother Ryu." He grins and pats both girls on the heads, sending them off with a bright good morning. Mia jolts awake and shoves her flushed face into the pillow, mortified. She blurts out a heartfelt apology for dozing off while she was supposed to be watching over him. Ryoichi flashes a calm smile, thanks both of them, and then tosses out the idea to get cleaned up. He springs out of bed, swings the door open, and steps into the hallway. Downstairs, the men huddled and gossiped, stunned they'd ever believe a gentleman like that could be real. Ryoichi mutters to himself that the rumors here fly faster than anyone can stop them. He's planted at the top of the stairs and his two sisters stand right beside him, ready for whatever's coming. Down below, a fox-eared swordswoman stands poised in the shadows, waiting like she's about to strike. Her sharp, intelligent eyes lock onto him like she's reading his every move. Ryoichi can't figure out why this beast person is locking eyes with him like they're about to pounce. Moa and Mia greet the stranger with crisp manners and sparkling curiosity, like they can't wait to see who he really is. That sword-wielding woman flashes a grin at the girls, and her eyes never once leave Ryoichi. Coco Yura's the jaw-dropping beast woman clears her throat with a proper little cough. With a bright, warm smile, she warmly greets Mia and Moa, the young ladies. Mia can't look away, already convinced the woman's voice is pure comfort. With a brutal clatter, the door to the forest respite swings wide open. Mary sprints up to Ryuchai, practically beaming, relieved as he's finally back on his feet. She tells him the grateful villagers are calling him their savior. Mary jabs a finger at a nearby table packed to the brim with gifts meant for their hero. Ryuichi can't believe the crazy bounty of fresh eggs and produce. It's overflowing with generosity. He leaned in to the innkeeper and begged for a little kitchen space to use. The hiss of his portable stove starts spitting sizzling heat, and the whole air fills with that crackling sound. Mia and Moa can't hold back before he even asks. They burst out that they're ready to help him whip up the food. Whispers rippled through the crowd as they gaped at the wild, exotic seasonings he'd collected. Moa stares him down, leaning in close, and demands to know what dish Ryuchai is cooking. He pulls out a giant, cloud-soft omuri that's so perfectly fluffy it leaves everyone staring in pure shock. Mary blurts out that she never imagined an omelet could look this unbelievably amazing. A mouth-watering aroma rolls through the room, and a curious Coco Yurus can't help but follow it. Ryuichi breaks into a warm smile and hands the swordswoman a generous share of the meal. With cheeks burning, she politely turns it down, claiming her sharp sense of smell made it unbearable. Moa grins and waves the beast woman over, insisting she join their family for a meal. Coco Eurus jolts at the kids' wild, excited invitation. She grudgingly falls in with them, shocked at how wildly everything flipped. She takes one small, nervous bite of the unfamiliar dish, like she's bracing for impact. Her eyes fly wide open when that unreal flavor hits her like a punch. She takes one bite and just asterisk stares, blown away by how rich, layered, and smooth the sauce tastes. Ryoichi leans in, tastes it, and snaps, "Yep, this is soy sauce." She swoons over how his home cooking tastes like pure nostalgia, so delicious it feels like a warm memory. She steps forward and proudly unveils her name, Coco Eurus Gavaldius, the adventurer. Ryoichi grins and cheerfully admits he's a fresh-faced new adventurer too. He flashes his adventurer's card, letting everyone see his name and rank in one bold move. Kakura squares up and reads out, in a low E-rank, the name Ishikawa Ryuchai. Before he ever became an adventurer, she leaned in and asked what he did for a living. He fumbles out an awkward excuse, he's an electrician or maybe some kind of craftsman. She declares that even a plain craftsman could never beat a Shout Bear King. She admits he's way gentler than the hero she'd been dreaming up. Ryoichi looks down, admits it. His win wasn't skill at all, he used a cheat. A booming voice from the doorway cuts in and confirms every word Ryoichi just said is dead-on true. Jaido, wrapped head to toe in bandages but standing like a warrior, strides into the inn. Mary rushes to his side, grabbing his attention and shouting that his injuries can't wait, he has to rest. He waves her off without mercy, barking that he's got urgent business to handle with his apprentice. A charged, unspoken tension crackles between a master craftsman and a swordswoman. Jaido locks in on the truth and realizes she's a swordswoman from the Coconuts archipelago. She confirms her school is the Kuren Ryu, and the look on her face screams that she's blown away by the insight he just dropped. Jaido grabs Ryoichi and storms them outside, straight toward the Woodworkers Guild. With a rough growl, he tells his apprentice to drop that woman and go after someone else. Ryoichi, visibly flustered, insists no, swears asterisk that he never had any intention of doing that. At the very end, Coco Eurus leans in and tells the girls that Ryoichi looks genuinely kind. She tells him that the fighters back home are famous for one thing above all, their unstoppable spirit. A lone swordswoman rides through a nightmare of her own making. With every mile she's forced to fight through trouble. Inside the guild hall, Jaido storms in with Ryoichi and shoves him before two village elders. Guildmaster Yask steps up to Ryuchai and tells him, "Man, it's been forever." Jaido steps up beside Ryoichi and thrusts him forward, like he's about to make the other man finally pay attention. The man boldly introduces himself as Corius, the chief of Ias village. Korea kicks off a chilling retelling of how a dragon tore through the land, leaving devastation in its wake. Ryuchai reels when he learns a dragon once tore into the village. The Duke of Corvelli himself rode out with an army to crush the menace. Two twin dragons tore through the island, unleashing destruction so massive nobody could count it. The Duke's private army and the strongest adventurers were thrown into action for war. After that brutal battle, the dragons were finally wiped out, but not without paying a crippling price. Ryuichi can't believe it. This calm, peaceful village still got slammed by a disaster this massive. Jaido leans in and tells him in a grim voice that those two dragons are a breeding pair. That surviving egg finally cracked open. Now its hatchling seethes with a brutal hatred for humanity. In Korea's hands, a sealed letter snaps shut as she declares, "We have to warn Baron Errol right now." He steps forward with a formal request and demands that Ryoichi hand over the letter as their representative. Ryuichi freezes, utterly overwhelmed, hit with a sudden wave of massive responsibility he never asked for. The elders tell him, "Hold on, wait until your wounds are fully healed." Jada blurts out that disaster can slam in out of nowhere, and they better move fast right now. Ryoichi leans in and demands, "Are you absolutely sure I'm the right guy for this job?" He's got the entire fate of the village riding on his shoulders, and the weight of it crushes him. Yas declares that Ryoichi is the one hero the whole village trusts with their lives. Ryoichi stands there in dead silence, and the weight of their words crushes down like a storm. With quiet determination blazing in his chest, he looks up and commits to the vital mission without hesitation. News of his coming departure rockets through the end. Mary is horrified, blurting out that he's far too kind to survive in this world. Ryuichi stays cool as he tells her the village chief is about to step in and lay out the whole situation. He tears off the bandages, and there it is. Every single wound is already gone. A panicked Mary snaps her hands over her eyes and tells him, "Don't undress here." He blares that he'll leave at dawn, and you can tell he's sweating a little. With his mind made up, he commits, then tackles one final project. Hammering and sawing crash and echo outside the house, like the walls are under attack. Ryoichi busts his ass, hammering and building a massive wooden structure from scratch. Mia and Moa creep to the corner and peek out, watching their brother get to work. Moa skids up to him, eyes blazing, and blurts out what he's building. He tells him he's building a bathtub that's powered by a rocket stove. The girls stare baffled because none of them have ever even heard of a hot bath. He tells them to soak in warm water because it'll calm their bodies and clear their minds. Mia admits it's true, she loves cold water, but the idea of a warm bath still feels like something she's never tried. With one last puff of smoke from the stove, the bath is finally ready. Ryuichi dips in to check the water's temperature, grinning like he just nailed it. Moa shoots her hand up instantly, blurting out that she's dying to get in. When Ryuichi realizes they don't have swimsuits, a brilliant idea hits him like lightning. He yanks two old t-shirts right out of his trusty Ishikawa electric shop stash. The girls erupt in cheers, strutting around in their brand new, huge swimsuits like total stars. The three of them sink into the hot, steaming bath together, letting the warmth melt the tension. Out of nowhere, a shadow bursts into view, choking on breath as shock slams the moment they see it. A scandalized Coco Eurus fires off, demanding to know what they're doing. She points at Mia and demands her age, and Mia blurts out, all jittery, that she's just 12. Coco Eurus blurted out that in her homeland, a blessing is handed down at exactly 10 o'clock. Ryoichi tries to clear everything up as one big misunderstanding, but she refuses to hear a word. The chaos finally erupts into one huge, violent splash, and a panic scream bursts out right after. Later on, Ryoichi gathers his sisters and drops the bomb. He's got something huge to discuss. Ryoichi takes a drink, while Mia and Moa shout that his deadly new mission is a bad idea. He starts spilling his reasons for why he has to leave them all behind. The girls scream that they refuse to get left behind again, like they did in the Shout Bear fight. Ryoichi drops his gaze, and you can tell he's locked in like, yeah, they're making a damn good point. Mia sits tall and fearless in the cockpit of a hulking, heavily armored magic suit. He tells them he beefed up the mech, just in case another terrifying monster crashes the party. Mia declares she'll lock in on defense first, and if things get too risky, she'll bolt. Ryuichi rockets forward with insane speed, effortlessly matching the machine's brutal pace. An unseen voice can't believe it, marveling that he can sprint at the same speed as the magic armor. He can't stop thinking about how his powers skyrocketed after he took down the Shout Bear. His eyes snap wide as he feels an unexpected presence creeping right up in front of them. Coco Eurus, the fox-eared swordswoman, drops into his path with deadly grace. Focus sharpened her face, and fire burned behind her eyes like a silent dare. Ryuichi halts mid-stride, eyes wide in shock, but his guard's up, he's ready for whatever hits next. A sly, confident smirk curls on Coco Eurus's lips. The path spills forward into a huge clearing, stretched out between two jagged rocky cliffs like the world just split open. Ryuichi and Koko Yuri's explode forward, sprinting like a blur and racing each other at full throttle. She blurts his name, stunned at how fast his feet start flying. He's wheezing like crazy, insisting that she's the speedy one and asking if she can keep running. She flashes a confident smile and shoots back, "Of course, I'll still keep up with him." From the mech, Moa blurts out that the two of them are way too fast. They rocket forward in streaks of motion, totally leaving that lumbering magic armor-eating dust. From the cockpit, the girls stare ahead, lagging behind the action but grinning because they're still soaking up every bit of the fun. They finally crash to a stop at a waterfall, and their ragged panting blasts through the air like a drumbeat. Ryuichi and Koko Yuri's gasp for air inside a cool, misty grotto. He grins and admits, "Yeah, I might have gotten a little too competitive." She blurts out that the race was pure fun, like she got to feel like a kid all over again. Ryuichi jolts with a sharp gasp, realizing a fresh threat has just come crashing into the scene. He snatches his axe and screams a warning to his sisters inside the mech. Koko Yuri's snapped her attention to the looming danger in an instant. A hulking troll monster barrels straight at the magic armor while Moa screams a warning at the top of her lungs. Koko Yuri's hand snaps to her sword, blade blazing as she yanks it free. She declares her sword style in Ryu, then snaps into position, ready to unleash a devastating strike. With a Marain slash, she swings in one smooth motion and drops the troll like it was nothing. From the cockpit, the girls erupt in cheers, shouting their thanks to Koko-san for pulling them to safety. Ryuichi breaks into applause, stunned by the adventurer's absolutely incredible skill. She snaps at him, telling him to ditch the humility, because he just crushed the legendary Shout Bear King. He claims his combat is just average, but the truth is he only scraped those wins because his regeneration kept dragging him back. Koko Yuris calmly repeats his own words, eyes lighting up as his recovery power proves just how wild it is. She leans in and asks if his power works just like the Lizardman's, where lost limbs just grow back. She thinks only one flawless hit, right on the vital spot, is the key to taking him down. The girls watch them hit it off, even as their talk lands dark and heavy. The sky is still pitch dark as dawn hasn't even cracked over their quiet two-tent camp yet. As morning finally breaks, golden sunlight bursts over their camp in the forest clearing. Ryachi's portable camping stove hisses as sausages sizzle in the pan. Ryuichi grins and shouts over to the girls' tent, "Breakfast is ready." Mier and Moa jolted awake, still half asleep, but the heavenly smell of cooking food hooked them instantly. Ryachi's eyes bulge wide with pure, total disbelief as he stares at what's unfolding in front of him. Koko Yuris bursts out of her tent, wrapped in nothing but a plain white towel. He blurts out a frantic shriek and flings a washcloth right over his own face. Moa bursts into giggles at her brother's flushed face, amazed at how fast his wounds heal. He spreads out a full breakfast, determined to push through the day and reach Erol by nightfall. They spot a passage on a horse-drawn carriage that barrels down the road at full speed. Ryuichi tells the girls they hit the jackpot, finding a ride straight to Erol. Mia snaps a reminder into a forgetful Moa. She's about to warn everyone about the dragon. Koko Yuris clenches her jaw and grimly retells the legend of Messel Island's twin dragons. The sturdy carriage keeps rolling across the huge, endless plains, with the horizon stretching forever ahead. Ryuichi stares at a map, pointing out all the other places he dreams of hitting someday. Koko Yuris snaps her head toward him and asks, "So you really came from this island in the first place?" With a heavy sigh, he admits he's from a place so far out of reach that he'll never be able to go back. A shadow with wings tears across the sky, charging straight at them. The horses shriek and rear up in pure panic, slamming the carriage to a violent, screeching stop. The whole squad gets yanked straight into chaos when the sudden stop hits. Then that terrifying shriek slices through the air. Ryuichi and Koko Yura burst out of the carriage and froze in stunned disbelief. An enormous obsidian-black dragon just dropped into their path, blocking everything dead ahead. The beast's icy, slit-like eyes lock onto them, burning with wicked, intelligent malice. Ryuichi's appraisal ability flips the script, exposing the dragon's stats as absolutely unreal, so strong it feels impossible. The dragon swings its giant jaws wide and unleashes a roar that shakes the whole ground. Koko Yuris spots its throat lighting up, and she knows a breath attack is about to explode. Ryuichi snaps into action, shoving everyone behind him as he braces to take the hit and shield them all. Koko Yuris stared at Ryachi's hideously burned arm with pure alarm. He shoots her a reassuring smile as the flesh miraculously knits itself back together right in front of her eyes. The dragon hangs in the air, and Ryoichi realizes there's no way they can outrun it. He can't stop worrying about the crushing power gap, especially with that dragon flying overhead. Coco Eurus leans in and demands, "Can you really see the dragon's true power level?" He checks, and with his god-tier appraisal power, he confirms he can do it. He unleashes his skill on her, and bam, he realizes she's powerful, but the dragon still stomps all over her. Coco Eurus goes dead quiet, realizing there's no escape from the hopeless truth of their situation. She dips her head for a beat, swiping every last shred of doubt before charging straight into what comes next. She jumps onto the carriage roof just as Ryuchai snaps at her that it's way too dangerous. She flat out declares that this dragon's still a juvenile. No, not some fully grown adult yet. She plants her feet and declares, loud and fearless, that a real warrior never backs down. Ryuchi stares, stunned to the bone, watching her reckless prep spiral out of control. His appraisal locks in the truth. Her status has flipped, and she's now at spirit concentration. She screams that she can buy them 5 seconds, just long enough to think of a plan. The dragon hurtles right at her, massive claws flaring, ready to rip her to pieces. Ryuchai braces to intercept the strike, fully knowing there's no surviving it. He slams his axe in a frantic swing, desperately trying to stop those claws from coming down on him. He twists just in time, deflecting the strike, sparks erupting like fire from the brutal hit. He digs his feet into the ground, bracing hard for the beast's full power. The dragon's colossal leg rips through the air and slams him aside with pure, brutal force. Mia and Moa scream his name in panic as they watch him get slammed right in front of them. Coco Eurus yells out, demanding to know if the girls are still standing safe inside. The dragon loops through the sky again, eyes locked right back onto the carriage. Ryuichi's stomach drops when he realizes the dragon is zeroing in on the carriage again. Power radiates off Coco Eurus, yet her wounds are right there for everyone to see. His appraisal hits like a gut punch. Her defense power has plummeted to a deadly, terrifying 0. Ryoichi finally realizes she's bleeding and totally powerless right now. She knows one clean, direct hit, while she's in this state, would wipe her out instantly. The dragon snaps its wings shut and rockets straight down, hunting the finishing blow. Spotting that Coco is the target, Ryuchai lets out a panicked shout as the dragon drops into a deadly dive. 3 of Ryuchai's clones cling for dear life to the giant dragon as it dives out of the sky. He triggers a god-tier body split and blasts out a swarm of copies, all of them rushing in to tear the enemy apart. The clones lunged in and slammed their weapons into the beast. Sparks flew, but its hide laughed them off. Horror hits him no matter what he throws at the enemy. Physical blows or magic spells won't even scratch them. His final play is advanced dark magic. One wrong move and it can spell instant death. Knowing he can't stall for even a second, he slams his fear aside and decides to put everything on the line. He tears loose abyss darkness, an unraveling vortex of shadows and skulls that swallows the beast whole. The dragon lets out a savage shriek, then whips its tail around, smack, tearing Ryuchi's arm clean off. Blood blasts from his shoulder, but he's nailed the perfect distraction. Coco Eurus shoots him a grateful nod, and then she admits it. She really should have trusted his judgment from the start. She praises him as a peerless warrior, then whips into position for her own brutal, devastating attack. Her eyes blaze with pure grit as she locks in and cranks up her power. She rockets into the sky and shouts her finishing move, the ultimate technique from the Kuren Ryu school. Her blade blooms into a lotus flash, then rips through the air in a furious whirlwind of pure cutting power. The dragon's badly wounded, and Ryoichi's body drops straight off its back like a falling meteor. He slams into the thick jungle below, and the wild branches smash his fall into something survivable. The injured dragon stumbles back while Coco Eurus stands tall, victorious on the wrecked carriage. The driver snaps his finger toward the fleeing beast as Mia blurts out, "Are my friends safe?" Coco Eurus crashes down hard, jaw clenched as agony sears through every one of her wounds. She clocks what they've done and realizes they drove it off, because this is the first time the dragon has ever been hurt. She knows one thing for sure: after they beat the young dragon, it's going to come back way stronger next time. She barrels through the chaos, shouting Ryochi's name, demanding to know if he's okay. She stumbles on him face down in a pool of blood, and even then, still weak and whispering, he begs her not to worry. She grabs his arm and yells for him to hang on, because his brutal regeneration power can still turn this around. He lays it out: this dark magic demands one thing: you lose your own movement, frozen in place, and if not for his 6th skill, he would have been dead for sure. The spell, he finally confesses, unleashes a mental torture so brutal it makes him pray for death. Coco Eurus grins with warmth, breathing out that she's just relieved he's alive, because he saved them. The other survivors drop to their knees, bowing hard as they thank the two for making sure everyone lived. Ryoichi, soaked in blood, crashed into the chaotic aftermath, while Coco Eurus bore witness. Mia and Moa sprint toward their brother, their faces twisted with raw worry. then cracking into instant relief. He barely manages a weak nod while his sisters cling to him in the tall grass. He throws them into a tight embrace, convinced his power to defy death was forged to save the people he loves. Coco Yuris stares at the Tinder family reunion with a sharp, thoughtful look that says she's got more on her mind than she's showing. She can't believe it, this is probably the first time anyone's ever thanked her for her swordsmanship. With fresh fire in her eyes, she whips the team into motion, pushing them to race to Erol and save even more lives. They hurry right up to the brutal stone gate of the agricultural city of Erol. Their carriage slams through the city's main entrance, clattering loud with every brutal jolt. City guards slam their way in, barking, "Where are you rushing to and why?" The driver blurts, shaking with panic, that a dragon has crashed the scene and it's demanding an audience with the Baron. They're marched straight to the Lord's mansion, this towering, opulent giant of a place that just screams power. Mia and Moa gawk at that massive mansion, completely stunned by all that jaw-dropping grandeur. A polished steward named Cross steps in, bows them in, and announces, "I'm the Baron's man." Cross pulls out the IAS letter and breaks the seal, then checks the handwriting and proves it's the real deal. From his office, Baron Erol shoots up in disbelief, stunned to the bone by the news of a dragon. Cross blurts to the Baron that their visitor is the very hero who wiped out the Shout Bear. The Baron stays suspicious, shaking his head like, there's no way they got attacked by a dragon. When they demand proof, Ryoichi just stays cool and calmly tells them he's got it stashed right in his item box. As he digs into his dimensional storage, random goodies start popping into a hexagonal grid one by one. He slams a massive obsidian dragon scale on the table, and the Baron and Cross both freeze in shock. Cross stepped up to inspect the scale, and his attitude instantly shifted, serious, calm, and respectful. He recognizes it instantly. Those exact scales match the twin dragons from 20 years ago. He still remembers dragging the search party back then, only to uncover a single, lonely fragment of eggshell. With his doubts crushed, the Baron nods along to his steward's report, because he knows that threat isn't a rumor, it's real. The Baron demanded the scale as proof, and Ryoichi didn't hesitate for a second. He storms in and vows to draft a petition to Duke Cravely, begging for the chance to borrow his troops. He'll fire off warnings to the IES and DWERS too, and make sure they know he's grateful for the intel. Cross snaps to the weary travelers, telling them to hand over everything to him and finally rest in the arrow. Ryuchai stretches out, finally letting out a breath of relief because the mission's over, and for once they can kick back and relax. Coco Yuris watches in tense silence, her unease hanging in the air like a warning. She knows it'll take days for the army to mobilize, and that means their homes will be left wide open the whole time. The girls can't shake the fear that their hometowns, Dwarves and IS Village, are in real danger. Coco Yuris decides the safest move is to hunker down inside her all for a few days. Moa darts to a market stall, eyes shining, and blurts that she can't wait to sink her teeth into that red fruit. Ryuichi freezes when he spots apples, stunned by how eerily this world mirrors his own. Moa takes a bite and grimaces at the sour taste, then Ryuichi leans in and says it tastes just like a Heimaringo. He decides it's time to prove to them how it's done in his country, then heads back to their inn. He drops his portable stove into place and cranks it up, boiling that liquid in a little pot like it's mission time. He lays out the easy recipe, sugar, water, and strawberry jam, so there's no food coloring at all. After coating the apples and letting them cool, the dazzling candy apples are finally ready to be devoured. Mia and Moa burst out laughing with joy, squealing that they look ridiculously cute and even more delicious. Before sunset hit, Ryoichi decides to push further into Erol and uncover more of what's hidden there. Moa refuses to wait. She insists she wants her candy apple right this second. Ryuji hands her the wrapped one and she bursts into cheers, grinning with pure anticipation. They stride through that sprawling, breathtaking city carved into the side of a hill, like the whole place was built for a showdown. Ryoichi and Coco Yuris marvel are the reason this city thrives. Everywhere you look, they prove how powerful and impressive it is. Mia grins and blurts, "Look right there," as she points ahead, dragging her brother towards something truly mind-blowing. She stares at this massive, breathtaking temple like it's the first miracle she's ever seen. Ryoichi lays it out, shrines shower people with massive benefits, and a city that has 3 of them can rise into a whole nation. To seal it, you've gotta have 3 priests, Shinkian, blessed and recognized by the gods themselves. The word gods hits Ryoichi like a lightning bolt, and suddenly all he can think about is Kamishiro and the goddess who dropped him into this world. He can't stop wondering what it would take to earn the gods' recognition, staring straight at a robed priest. A little hooded priest lurches into view, swaying like they might fall any second. The figure lunges forward and then crumples, wiped out by exhaustion or hunger. Ryuichi darts forward and grabs the small priest just as they tumble into him. He can't believe it. What's wrong? He stares in shock as the kid drops and collapses out of nowhere, so fast it feels unreal. Moa closes in with a candy apple in hand, then asks if you're okay, right there, checking on everything. A faint gleam flares in the shadows under the hood as they finally spot the sweet treat. The priest yanks the candy apple out of Moa's hands, and Moa jerks back in pure shock. They start tearing into it like rabid fire, and when Moa cries out in pure shock, yeah, the whole moment goes wild. Moa bursts into a heartbreaking wail, her face scrunched tight with tears after someone swipes her treat. Ryuichi rushes to comfort her, whispering, "Don't cry, save it, there's more waiting for us at the end." He suddenly remembers he's got a replacement and yanks out a box of the sister donuts. He thrusts the box toward his sniffling Moa, offering a fresh treat to calm her down. She grabs a donut and the tears vanish on the spot, swapped instantly for a bright, happy smile. The hooded priest gaze leans in and snaps its attention to the box, glowing brighter with fresh, razor-sharp intensity. They explode forward in a rush, snatching the whole box of donuts right from Moa's hands. Ryuichi can't believe it as they shove multiple donuts into their mouths at the same time. He snatches them up and snarls, demanding to know what they're doing, promising he'll never forgive them for making Moa cry. From deep under the hood, a tiny, bitter voice snaps that they're no kid at all. With a snap of their arm, the mysterious figure whips the hood off their cloak in one dramatic motion. She swings into the spotlight and says, "I'm Maro, a 24-year-old elven shinken, all grace and respectability." Ryuichi stared down at her, bored out of her mind, and instantly decided that because she was an elf, she must be just a kid. He yanks up the furious Maro and snaps that a brat like her needs to be brought to heel. Tomorrow fights in his grip, pushing and pleading for answers. What does he plan to do to her? Ryuichi strides up to her and starts plotting to haul her to the guards, like she's just a lost kid who needs to be found. She screams her claim at the top of her lungs. She swears she's a shinken picked straight by the gods themselves. Ryuichi snaps back that it doesn't matter if she's a priestess. Thievery isn't acceptable ever. Moa wipes tears from her face and steps up to Maro, demanding she first apologize for snatching her apple. Maro stares, baffled, as he finally clicks that the candy apple isn't just a treat. It's the same sweet red jewel she just swallowed. She remembers collapsing to her knees in pure despair, then, like the gods themselves intervened, a glowing treat burst into view. She suddenly snaps into a mind-blowing epiphany. She doesn't think it came from a god at all, but from Lady Undine. A huge flood of tears bursts from her eyes with a thunderous gush. Her tears turn into a full-on downpour as she sobs out apologies to the goddess she's convinced she stole from. Ryuichi and Koko Yuri's are drenched to the bone. Standing under this waterfall, they can't stop wondering if it's divine punishment coming straight from the heavens. Maro crumpled to the ground, sobbing her heart out because those sweet treats were too much, and she completely lost control. A tiny, soft hand reaches out to the pathetic elf, who's trembling and crying his heart out. Moa flashes a warm smile, tells Marin, "Don't do that again," and urges them to make up right now. Maro takes the girl's hand, her chest swelling with gratitude at that pure compassion, and she finally steps in to introduce herself the right way. The instant Maro's fingers brush the others, his eyes flare wide and he sucks in a breath so sharp it feels like a jolt. She leans in and tells Moa she can feel a rare, special gift blooming inside her. Maro pushed the idea that they should head to the shrine of Mond, the god of agriculture, and beg for a blessing. The groups line up before the grand column temple, and you can feel the tension in their blank, waiting faces. They step into the long queue of villagers, all waiting to get blessed by the temple's priestess. The priestess smiles wide and motions the next person in line to step up. She lifts her hand high, chanting for the god's blessing to fall on them. The priestess lays her hand on Ryuichi's head and nothing. Not a spark, not a tingling, just total emptiness. He frantically pats himself down and scans his status screen. Stunned, nothing has changed at all. A blinding flash of light erupts from right behind him, and his whole body jolts in shock. The priestess raises her hands and rains a sacred blessing down on Kokiris, Mia, and Moa. The three girls get wrapped up in a warm, swirling aura, and you can practically feel the god's divine power coursing through them. Ryuichi reels in disbelief, staring around like, why did everyone else get the god's protection but me? Tomorrow tells them that this blessing finally unlocks their magic, and the girls can use it now. Mia and Moa locked eyes, and pure wonder and total disbelief lit up their faces. Mia bursts into pure joy, shouting that she can finally cast magic after all that desperate waiting. She crushes Maro in a tight hug, thanking her over and over like this mind-blowing gift just changed changed her whole world. Ryuichi mumbles under his breath, convinced he's the only one left standing outside the group while everyone else moves on. Then it hits him, Yasuke told him the god of woodcraft was smiling on him. Moro straight up confirms it, he already has God's protection and that's why she was drawn to him. She locks eyes with him, her focus sharpening fast as she wonders, could that really be the only power he has? A winged goddess image flashes into view as Maro realizes the power surging from him is wildly beyond anything he expected. Ryuichi finally clicks, this is the reason he can wield every elemental magic from the very beginning. The story whips over to the fancy rooftops of Erol, where gray clouds churn above everything. Ryuichi's crew strides through the city and right behind them, Maro falls in step, trailing close like he's finally part of the ride. Tamaro says she wants to repay them for the food, and she'll grind through her debt until it's gone. Ryoichi leans in and tells her they're blasting back to Aya's village the very next day. Maro jabs a finger at the map and warns that a dragon is lurking right along their route. She boldly swears her recovery magic will save the day on their deadly journey. Ryoichi nods and says, yeah, another healer would be great, and don't worry, I'll make sure she gets fed at least. Maro grins and demolishes a mountain of food, shoving bite after bite into her mouth with pure, unstoppable joy. Ryoichi and Mia stare in disbelief as Moa feeds the ravenous elf even more food. Mia can barely contain her excitement as she begs Maro to teach her how to use her brand new magic. Moa rushes over with her picture book and thrusts it into Maro's hands, demanding the elf read it out loud for her. Mara snaps her eyes to the book and shock slams into her, along with a sudden, sickening recognition. She blurts out that it's a first edition copy of The Adventures of Dread Asterisk. She tells the girls this rare treasure is straight from her homeland, the Forest Nation, a centrist legend. Later that night, Maro flashed Ryoichi a seductive stare and leaned in to whisper a tantalizing invitation for a tryst. Ryoichi lunges in and shoves a pillow right over her face, barking, just fall asleep. Blushing hard, Maro swears she's pure, but Ryoichi cuts in, saying that's not even the point. He snaps at her to stop those tasteless jokes this damn late in the night. Maro's attitude flips in an instant, and she cradles Ryuichi's face in her hands with the softest touch. She tells him she can feel something strange about him, and then she demands to know what he senses back. She leaned in and grilled him about the life he'd lived, begging to hear every detail of his story. Ryoichi watches in alarm as Moro's perception sharpens to a dangerous edge. He shoves the pillow at her one more time, barking that it's way past time and she's got to get some sleep. Maro peeks from behind the corner, forcing himself to back off for now, then swears he'll be back soon. The very next day, Ryoichi's freshly built motorcycle and sidecar rocket down the road like they're chasing something. Ryuichi tells her he rebuilt his dad's old sidecar, and the girl's eyes light up with pure delight. Maro fumes from the back, insisting she should be the vanguard, not stuck as some backup unit. Coco Eurus runs right beside the vehicle, her heart racing as this wild new speed finally hits. At the hot spring, Mia joyfully scrubbed herself clean with the soap Ryoichi brought straight from his world. Moa laughs and tells her to stop scrubbing so hard, because her voice is already spilling over to the men's side. Ryoichi can't help but stare in shock, realizing it's weird as hell to be surrounded by nothing but girls. He feels something watching and whips around, letting out a sharp, questioning noise. Maro pops up in the water and tells Ryoichi to wash her back right there. He demanded to know why she's on his side of the bath, yet she won't budge, insisting he's exactly who she wants. Ryoichi freezes, then blasts her with a bucket of water and bursts out laughing in pure, shaky nerves. Fresh out of the bath, Mia and Moa feel brand new, smiling wide as they kick back with a tasty post-bath drink. Coco Eurus totally agrees that hot springs melt your stress, while Moro cracks a smile and sips fruit milk. As they head down the road together, Coco Eurus clocks it. Ryoichi must be head over heels for Aya's village. Ryuichi nods and calls it his second home, then promises they'll be able to see it soon. But from up on the hill, they spot a terrifying scene. His village is in flames. Ryoichi just freezes, staring in stunned disbelief, trying with all his might to wrap his head around what in the world just happened. The whole group freezes in terror, staring at the brutal scene right in front of them. Ryuichi's face contorts with terror as the crushing realization finally hits him like a nightmare. He bursts into the smoldering ruins, yelling his friends' names into the choking smoke like he can still bring them back. He crumples to the ground, clutching his head in crushing despair, sobbing that everyone is gone. Koko Yura stood over the wreckage with a grim glare, convinced the dragon had clawed its way back to its nest. Ryuichi's expression snaps into rage as the realization hits. He totally underestimated that dragon. He snaps back and remembers the giant's cave sitting northwest, then whips out his map to confirm it. Hope surges through him, and he sprints through the forest straight for the ruins. Right as he nears the cave mouth, two guards come into view, standing there like they own the place. He spots his guild crew, Seekers and Taurus, posted up, keeping watch right at the cave entrance. They surge toward him, faces lit up with pure, breathless relief, because he's safe. Seekers says the dragon struck back, but it was already hurt, and that's why it got shoved away and driven off. Thanks to Ryuichi's warning, they hauled the whole plan into action, got everyone ready to evacuate, and made sure nobody got hurt. But then their smiles crumble as they confess, yeah, a lot of people got hurt, and some are badly injured. They broke the news to Ryoichi. Fars, their friend, had been smashed by the worst kind of injuries. Inside a cramped makeshift infirmary, Mary sits in silence beside the bed, back turned to the entrance. She twists around with a sharp, pained grimace the second Ryoichi slips into the dim, shadow-soaked chamber. Mary blurts out Ryoichi's name, and the fear in her voice instantly turns into desperate, aching relief. He's relieved she's safe, but his eyes snap around, hunting their runaway friend like a bad omen. Ryoichi's eyes shoot wide with pure terror as the grim truth finally smacks him in the face. He stumbles on Fars sprawled on a cot, wrapped head to toe in brutal, thick bandages. Mary breaks down in tears as she confesses that Fars got swallowed by dragon fire while shielding her. Tucked under the wrappings, Fars's eyes snap open, and he locks onto his friend's presence like he knew he'd come. With a shaky, bandaged hand, he barely reaches out and demands, "Tell me, is this really Ryoichi?" Fars out here begging for forgiveness, swearing he never meant to get caught looking that pathetic and clumsy. Ryuichi lunges in front of him, yelling for him to wait. Then he braces to unleash his recovery magic. He thrusts a glowing sphere of healing heal water into his hand, and it hums like power. But Moro strides forward and starts a divine chant to push the pain back as far as it can go. A soft, glowing light pours down from the sky and wraps the battered man in an ethereal embrace. Far's mind reeled as the strange light spell finally loosened, and the crushing agony in his body started to fade. He jolts upright in a rush of energy, and it feels like he's miraculously whole again. He stares at his hands, and shock hits as the horribly burned skin is totally healed. Mary screams his name, and pure, unstoppable joy lights up her face. Fars thanks Ryuichi, and Ryuichi quickly brushes it off, claiming he didn't do anything at all. Across the cave, the other injured villagers throw a wild celebration, stunned that they've actually bounced back like it's pure miracle. Moa snaps her gaze to Ryuichi, worry crashing across her face like it hit in an instant. She tells him that Moro dropped to the ground the instant she finished her jaw-dropping healing spell. Ryuichi bolts to the fallen elf's side, snapping, "Are you okay?" Mero sprawls on the floor, and her stomach growls so loud it sounds like it's begging for food. Ryuichi can't shake the thought, did that healing light actually spread and fill the whole area? Mero murmurs, barely holding it together, that once she uses her divine magic, her cravings go straight for sweets. Ryuichi flashes a grin and presents her with a tray of candy apples, like the sweetest little invitation ever. The mighty priestess grins and devours the treats like their victory itself, her duty finally done. Ryuichi stands at the mouth of the cave, staring at that strange light and trying to figure out where it's coming from. Jido bursts in with relief, finally seeing his apprentice return safe and sound. He drops to his knees to thank the tiny priestess who just patched up that farce of a healing act. Jido can't believe it, his shattered leg is healed, and his rheumatism is gone for good. Village Chief Kori bows and, with real gratitude, formally thanks Ryoichi for delivering that letter. Ryuichi's chest tightens with guilt, and he can't stop wishing he'd gotten there sooner. His eyes blew wide as the chief's words hit him like a shockwave. He demanded to know how the chief could possibly figure out he'd even delivered the message. The chief leans in and says, "We kept the casualties at 0, that's how we pulled it off." As soon as he clutched the letter, he blurted out the truth. Someone from the Baron had been sent to IAS. He introduces Masakis, one retainer who fought the dragon alone and sent it crashing back. Masaki humbly swore the dragon was already hurt when she finally showed up. Ryuichi brushes off the praise and snaps that it all happened because of Koko Yuri's. The moment her name gets spoken, Koko Yuri snaps in shock, gasping like she's just recognized a long-lost threat. She leans in and asks if he's really the legendary A-rank adventurer, Misakis, the Adamant. Masaki flashes a grin and calls out a name from the past, one that hits him like a sweet old memory. Her legend lives on. One lone warrior stood against a brutal chimera and crushed it. Ryoichi is stunned. How could a woman this gentle be able to carry a title like that? Jaido can't stop worrying that they'll have to survive for days on their own until help finally shows up. Coco Yuri's finally admits she misread the dragon's wicked cleverness and its venomous hatred for humans. That dragon's rage is screaming for another strike before any reinforcements can even show up. That cave can't even fit 500 people, so they scramble for a real shelter right now. A bolt of inspiration hits Ryuichi out of nowhere. He's got a real solution to their problem. He marches them to a colossal, sealed, high-tech door hiding inside the ruins. They race down a dim, shadow-choked staircase and plunge into a hidden underground chamber. Masaki spots that triangular seal at a glance, one he's seen etched into ancient magic tools long ago. Ryuichi drops the bomb. He knows the name, and it's the Senkika Magic Tool Company. Masaki chokes on grief, watching those once brilliant, mind-bending machines get tossed aside as nothing but scrap. Ryoichi mutters that tossing it aside is a total waste. He's convinced that even if something shatters, it's still got a shot. He'll find a way to fix it. They slam into the entrance of a massive chamber, and the darkness swallows everything in sight. Ryuichi spots a light switch on the wall, and his eyes lock on it like he's seen it before. With a thunderous click, the whole chamber snaps to life, flooding it with blinding light in an instant. They blink in disbelief as they find themselves dropped into a gigantic futuristic hangar. Masaki clocks the lights and realizes these tech breakthroughs are brand new, straight out of the capital. Ryoichi breaks into a grin because his electrical repair skills just saved the day. The massive hangar hums with rows of sleeping magic armor, all lined up and ready to wake. Masaki asks, "Did you fix it?" And he shoots back, "No, I only patched the main power." A monitor sparks to life, and the same AI he knows all too well greets him like, "Master." The AI practically shakes with anticipation, waiting for the day he comes back. Furia shows up out of nowhere and fires off a razor-sharp countdown from the moment they last crossed paths. Mia and Moe lock eyes in pure shock, staring at the woman flashing on the screen. Ryuichi clocks it right away. The AI's words feel extra cutting this time. He storms up to the administrator and demands permission to turn that space into a shelter. Maro grabs Ryuichi and demands, "So what is this weird talking contraption supposed to do?" Moa steps up, smiles politely, and asks the AI lady what her name is. The AI shoots back that it hasn't given her a name yet. Moa grins and boldly announces, "My name's Mike Chan now." The AI snaps to the new designation, and I'm left totally stunned. Mike Chan snaps his command, "Stand down," as the magic armors lower their weapons to welcome the refugees. Ryuichi makes it crystal clear he's only using the place as a shelter. The chief bursts out his gratitude, and you can see it. Those villagers can finally breathe easy, with real comfort at last. Ryoichi fires up his powers and summons food, bedding, and emergency supplies where people need them most. Clutching his brand new axe, Ryoichi declares he's ready to kick off training. Masaki let out a quiet chuckle, calling herself just some retired old woman. Then she drops her guard and reveals it. An enormous, tech-dripping rifle built to tear reality apart. She grips the cannon-like weapon like a lifelong pro, and her aim is dead on. Ryuichi spots the Senkaku Magic Tool Company's triangular seal in an instant. She pointed it out, reminding her, most people couldn't handle these ancient tools, period. Masaki grins, and you can tell he's speaking the truth. Everything he said checks out. That rifle is cursed to the core. Every single owner who ever held it ended up dead. Ryuichi and Coco Yuri stare in disbelief as she swings around a weapon that looks far too deadly for someone like her. Masaki warns, "One wrong move with it, and you're dead on the spot." Coco Urus leans in and recounts the legends of that spear, the one that carved Miss Siki's title into history. She unsheathes her katana in a flash, grinning like it's destiny. She can't wait to spar with a legend. Masaki's brutal attack smashes into Coco Urus and yanks her clean off balance. She can't believe the raw speed and razor-sharp skill it takes to wield that kind of weapon. Ryoichi surged forward, got into position, and snapped that they needed even more. He whips his axe through the air and chips back Isaki's rifle with a brutal, crushing strike. When their weapons clash, the impact blasts a shockwave tearing through the air. Masaki shoots a shocked look, because his strength and skill are way beyond what he expected. Ryuichi finally admits it, he's outmatched, and he's throwing everything he has at the fight, clawing for every breath just to stay alive. Coco Urus shot a glare, fought her own nose Masaki's, and still had to clamp down on her real, terrifying strength. She swears she'll tear this training battle apart with her very own ultimate techniques. Masaki's calls for a truce, warning them that if this gets any heavier, lives will be at stake. With a final well, the legendary adventurer snaps her head around and strides off, leaving her training partners behind. Elven priestess Maro can't stand martial training, but her student Mia beams and dazzles her with a brand new spell. Tomorrow is thrilled to be called teacher, as Moa can't wait to grab her attention. Moa flaunts her giant water spheres like they're bigger than Coco Eurus's chest, and the shocked Moral snaps back with a brutal rebuke. Maro makes the girls hit wild magic poses, then forces them to admit those poses do nothing to their spellcasting. Mia's playful vibe snaps to serious as she says she wants to master magic that can genuinely help her brother, Ryuchai. Maro slams the warning into them: against a dragon, beginner-level magic is useless, and survival has to be their only priority. When Maro spots their grit, he steps in and hypes a brand new kind of magic, one that strengthens their bodies. She tells him it's a special kind of non-elemental magic that shatters the rules of physics and supercharges the body. The dragon subjugation army rolls in 230 soldiers strong and sets camp nearby. Isikis and Ryuichi, who have already fought that dragon face-to-face, send out a summons. Ryuchai pitches Coco Yuri's to join their crew, but she shuts it down fast. She has zero interest in getting tangled up with the military. A tense silence hangs in the air, and the truth finally hits hard. Ryachi strides up to the commander and tells him the dragon's still a juvenile, far from its full power. The commander clocks how deadly Ryachi's appraisal skill is, and how that power lets him shove the beast back with pure force. Caught off guard by his power, the commander immediately offers Ryachi a coveted spot in the Royal Knightly Order. Ryachi freezes in total shock when a totally unexpected offer lands in his lap: become a knight. Masaki lets out a wicked chuckle because becoming a noble isn't a distant fantasy for him anymore. It's finally within reach. Ryoichi shakes his head and humbly refuses, admitting he isn't strong enough, and insists he only made it through because his friend carried him. The commander cuts through his modesty and declares he's got his own way to judge Ryachi's real strength. He labels Ryachi a mysterious man, because that kind of power comes with zero personal ambition. Outside the command tent, the commander points and snaps a command, drawing the attention of every soldier who's gathered for the campaign. He lays it out: these guys aren't fighting for honor, they're chasing pure ambition, clawing for that sweet personal glory in the middle of the battle. The commander roars at his troops, insisting their enemy is just a kid they've already crushed before. That same night, they practically pushed Ryoichi back toward the safety of the giant's cave shelter. He strides through the futuristic, triangular doorway and slips back into the hidden base. A drowsy Mia trudges over, rubs her eyes like they're made of sand, and grins as she greets her big brother back home. Ryuchai rushes in to apologize for waking her, and she instantly slips back under the covers, murmuring good night as sleep steals her away. Coco Eurus steps in and drops the bombshell: Mia never slept a wink. She'd been waiting up the whole time for him to come back. Then she leaned in and demanded his take on the subjugation army, and whether they actually had a shot at winning. Ryachi sized up the soldiers himself and came away impressed. Every single one was strong, skilled, and firing on all cylinders with motivation. He realizes he's basically meant to be on the front lines, so he vows to help right from the shelter. Inside the army camp, a hopeful crowd poured in, lured by a mouthwatering smell that felt like a miracle. A giant pot of stew roared and bubbled on that portable stove like it had its own heartbeat. Ryoichi, Mia, and Moa team up like a squad, cooking up a warm meal to feed everyone. Coco, Yuri's, and Moa beam as they ladle steaming stew into the hands of grateful soldiers. A soldier flashed her gratitude and pressed a gift into Moa's hands as a thank you for her kindness. She shoved a heavy, fancy book of non-elemental magic into Moa's hands like it was priceless and dangerous. Elven priestess Moro actually lifted off the ground, floating midair as she leaned in, captivated by that rare, haunting tone. Moro stared at the book, hooked, and realized the magic inside could be mastered in an instant. For days, a crushing, ominous downpour slammed onto the ruins, forcing them to huddle in cover as the sky refused to let up. Inside, Ryachi grabbed a box of apples and hauled it close, while outside the weather turned brutal. He sat there thinking it was finally time to bring the army home after their mission. A bright, cheerful voice blared his name from the far end of the long corridor, and it snapped straight through the silence. Young Moa sprinted up to him, grinning wide as she offered to help with his task. Ryachi smirked and told her to dash to the back of the storeroom and grab some bread. He figured the cramped aisles turned this into the perfect mission for someone as tiny as him. Moa snapped up the mission without hesitation, swearing she'd take it on and finish it herself. With quick little taps of her feet, she grinned and darted down the aisle like she had somewhere to be. She stood in the storeroom, hunting for the bread her brother had demanded. Humming a bright little tune to herself, she spotted the bags and started snatching them up. Ryuichi stood back, soaking it all in with a warm, happy smile. He couldn't help thinking how Moe's bright spirit always somehow yanked him out of the dumps and made him feel better. Then boom, an earth-shaking tremor tore through the whole facility, rattling every bone in the process. Ryuichi staggered, debris blasting from above, praying it wasn't an earthquake. A calm, synthetic voice blared, the worst kind of emergency was here. Top level, no hesitation. Panic erupted as the villagers were told, right now, to sprint into the underground hangar for evacuation. The AI's voice cut through the chaos, blasting the truth. The facility was under attack. Ryuichi snapped his gaze upward, stunned, as his mind scrambled to figure out what was happening. He stared in pure horror as the ceiling overhead started to buckle and fall in on the storeroom. He shoved everyone to safety and threw himself into the line of fire, right where the falling rubble was about to smash down. Moa's isle was swallowed whole, buried under a mountain of stone. Ryuichi stared with eyes so wide they looked like they'd shatter, pure horror, total disbelief, like his world just stopped making sense. He stood in the wreckage, shaking as he shouted Moa's name into the chaos. He crumpled to his knees in total despair, shattered by the sheer horror of what just happened and unable to make sense of it. Ryuichi rips through the rubble at full speed, begging like crazy for his sister Moa to answer. With pure grit, he strains and pushes those crushing stones aside, one brutal heave at a time. He snaps into a horror-stricken freeze the second he hears the dragon roar and realizes it's battling the army right now. Somewhere out beyond the cave, the Knight Commander seethes in a mountain hideout because the dragon slipped away. "What do you think you're doing?" he roars at them, and the order hits. "Keep the encirclement locked down like I commanded." A soldier bursts in and swears the Baron's reckless charge tore straight through their formation, shattering it with brutal chaos. The Baron's man snaps back, ripping into the commander's troops for abandoning their post just to chase glory. Two factions snap into action, yanking weapons free as pride turns to raw hostility and the insults start flying. A noble-looking young man named Julius stares down the whole pointless squabble with a hard, unblinking glare. Suddenly, a blast of dark energy erupts from the cave's mouth, slicing straight through the squabbling soldiers. A lone knight hoists their oddly shaped sword high, bracing as a deadly spellstorm crashes down. Back in the shelter, Koko Yura throws herself in front of Ryoichi's unconscious body, shielding him as the ceiling comes crashing down. A monstrous slab of rock rips loose and rockets toward them, poised to smash them both under its crushing weight. She slams him awake and screams at him to run, yet the first foggy thought in his head is Moa. From a towering ledge, Mia juts her arm out and panics, telling everyone that Moa is buried somewhere down there. The dragon's head rams straight through the wall, and Mia screams that she can't see Moa anymore. Ryoichi snaps back into action. He conjures 4 clones, and they rocket through the air to slam straight into the massive beast. The dragon's massive jaws slammed shut in a heartbeat, wiping out one of the clones like it was nothing. Koko Eurus gasps in panic as the shelter keeps collapsing, crushing down around her. Her appraisal skill snaps on, and with a flash it exposes the terrifying dragon's insane stats and its current condition. She's completely stunned. This dragon is already badly battered, yet it still radiates pure, unstoppable power. Ryuichi realizes the beast must have bolted to this very spot right after it tore through the subjugation army. With her katana drawn, Koko Yura boldly declares she'll stand shoulder to shoulder with him in the fight. She lunges forward, blade flashing in a blazing arc, aiming straight for the dragon's thick, armored scales. Her lightning-fast slashes hit dead on, ripping deep gashes into the beast and splattering it with its own blood. Up above, Mia screams that she saw the exact moment Moa was buried alive. She's terrified Ryoichi is slipping into the same rage that swallowed her father before his death. Still, she's sure her sister is out there, breathing, so she knows she has to tell Ryuichi right now before it's too late. Mia's heart drops with terror. If this brawl keeps going, Ryoichi and Koko Yuri's are going to die. Undeterred, Koko Yuris digs in her heels right in the middle of the chaos, blade raised and ready to strike. She whips out another savage, arcing slash, crashing into the dragon's flank with everything she's got. Breathing hard, she demands from Ryoichi how much life force that invincible dragon is left with. Ryuichi grips his sword, drops to one knee, and can only breathe out in exhausted silence, because the answer is so brutal, no words will come. A shock scream rips through the air. Your brutal attack only leaves a tiny scratch on the level 98 dragon's health. His eyes fly wide with horror as he finally realizes everything he crushed wasn't even close to being enough. He realizes he has to slam the beast with non-stop, brutal damage, right where it can't heal fast enough. The dragon's wounds didn't just heal, they snapped shut its regeneration like it was locking away a power on a whole new plane. Coco Eurus clenched her teeth, and pure, hard determination snapped across her face. With a rage-filled roar, the dragon rams straight through the stone wall like it's nothing. Ryoichi is slammed under a vicious avalanche of rock and debris. He coughs up a spray of blood, and his body finally gives in. His regeneration can't catch up, so he panics, begging his own body to hold on just a little longer. Coco Eurus detonates with raw power, charging up her ultimate move like she's about to end the whole fight in one strike. She knows she's got one last move, pull out her life-draining secret art and cut this battle off for good. She looks death in the eyes and vows that it won't take her, she'll carve out life from the fear. A storm of raw power surges around her as she releases her final, game-ending attack. The dragon bellows as its blazing maw snaps forward, unleashing a brutal breath attack. Ryuichi stands there tense and focused, realizing he has to stop that dragon before it kills Coco Eurus. He scrambles desperately for any way to step in, anything at all that could stop this from happening. He drives his fist into the rubble, helpless fury burning through him. The story snaps into an opulent hall inside the Duke of Crevelli's domain. Nobleman Julius steps up and boldly says he can finally send them a direct request. Ryoichi leans in and asks, "So you're telling me we're getting hit with yet another mission?" Julius steps in and makes it clear. The mission is to wipe out Barbarossa's black pirate fleet. General Gustav, leader of the royal army, will smash into the subjugation campaign. Ryoichi leans in and spills the secrets of his homeland's customs to the elegantly dressed Faye, like it's the most important story in the world. With a grin on his face, he begs Faye to teach him more about spirits and the wild adventures waiting beyond them. Faye's cheeks go red as he tells Ryoichi that he's genuinely the kindest soul around. Ryoichi can only blink back with this slightly confused, huh. Clad head to toe in armor, Faye strides up and proudly tells the girls, "I'm a junior knight." Moa flashes a bright grin at Faye and practically begs her to come play. Faye can't stop swooning over Moe's cuteness, but he still pushes her to bury her spirit away. Mara snaps that spirits are pure power, and they'd better stay buried from anyone evil who might get their hands on them. A shadowy cloaked figure suddenly drops into view high up in the ship's rigging. The figure locks eyes with Ryoichi and demands, "So you're the troublemaker, huh?" Ryoichi snaps, demanding answers. How does this stranger even know his name? The figure clocks the elven Shinken Maro right there. A swirling blade of dark energy screams through the air. Maro blurts out that the figure said her name like it had been watching her all along, without anyone ever telling it. The figure bears their envy, seething at all the love Ryuichi gets. A brutal wave of dark energy slices straight through the ship's massive wooden mast. The pirate's watch drops in shock as the mast gets split clean in two. Ryuichi snaps into action, throwing himself in front of the girls while a tiny winged creature perches on his shoulder. He leans into his familiar, Lily, and tells her they have to break out before this deadly situation swallows them. He slams down a magic circle, ready to bolt the moment the girls are with him. A cloak-draped figure slips in behind him and snaps, "Careless, are you out of your mind?" A shadowy tendril lashes out from the attacker and drives straight into Ryoichi's back, pinning him in place. But the attacker leans in and taunts him, demanding to know if he honestly believed he could get away. Ryuichi erupts in a scream of raw agony as a sudden attack slams into him from out of nowhere. He gets hurled forward and slams onto the wooden deck, collapsing hard. The attacker laughs at his pathetic attempt to move, screaming, "Look at you, injured and still trying." A brutal burst of blood explodes outward the moment Ryoichi slams to the ground. Mia and Moa freeze in stunned silence, eyes bulging wide like they can't even blink. Their shock instantly curdles into terror as reality finally clicks and they realize what just happened. They bolted to his side, shouting his name like the world was ending. Moa lunges into his arms, clinging to him as she sobs his name like it's her lifeline. He yanks them in close and tells them, through sheer grit, "I'm okay," even with those awful wounds tearing him up. He flashes a grin and tells them, "These wounds will heal, now go find safety." He can't believe the irony, enemies closing in everywhere, and somehow he still feels safe. He clamps Moa in his arms and you can see the pain in his face, yet he refuses to let go. Mia is sobbing and she tells him, "These arms are the safest place on earth." Pirate Captain Barbarossa stared ahead with a grim, unshakable look. He whips his crew into line, pounding their code of conduct into their heads before they charge on. He vows he'll never hurt women or children, people who are basically family to him. Raiachi shot his gaze upward, and the second he caught the name Barbarossa, everything clicked. Barbarossa jabs a finger at the real enemy, perched above like a monster, the ruined mast. The cloaked figure snaps and ends that annoying fight in one brutal move. They were hoping to turn him loose on the enemy and finally get some payback fun in the chaos. Barbarossa and his crew stare at the alarm, tension snapping in the air. Ryoichi and the girls choke on a gasp as they feel that monstrous power swelling in the air. A brutal whirlpool of black water suddenly blasts open, swallowing the ship and screaming like it wants it gone for good. But Barbarossa howls in curses as the traps get set, and the maelstrom tears every single one apart. He mourns the wreckage of the tricks he'd planted for the merchant ships. The attacker bursts into laughter, swearing that the real fun hasn't even started yet. They cackled with excitement and vowed that their spirit magic would turn the sky into a storm of blood. Ryuchai bursts back onto the scene, his arm knitting itself back together as he charges forward to strike. He swings his axe hard, but the blade bites nothing, passes right through the attacker like it's made of smoke. He freezes in total disbelief, stunned to the bone that his attack hits nothing at all. The attacker bursts back on the scene, grinning and taunting him, swearing their teleportation magic makes all his efforts pointless. They fire off another brutal volley of dark projectiles straight at him. A blast slammed into Ryuchai, and before he could dodge even once, that swift attack crashed into him. The attacker leans in and snaps, "Don't resist, your death is already written." The attacker's masked eye flashes with pure nasty intent. Then boom, that cloaked figure gets ringed by 4 Raiachi clones from out of nowhere. The attacker bristled, hit by this painfully troublesome turn of events. Ryuichi stands poised with a grim, laser-focused stare, ready to explode into action. Moe's face pops up on the communicator, and she urgently asks if Ryoichi can hear her. Bei tells them Kahaku, her familiar, watches the enemy's teleportation unfold in real time. Those enemy Kraken spirits are the real key, shut them down, and the teleporting stops cold. The clones swarm in a brutal flurry, but the attacker waves it all off like it's nothing. Once the attacker gets bored, they yank themselves out of reality and teleport away. They jab their weapons in his face, swearing they'll kill him and his entire family next time. Ryoichi lifts his axe with chilling calm, saying coldly, "There won't be a next time." The attacker gets completely frozen by the pure audacity of his defiant words, like the whole world goes dead silent. Ryuchai surges forward, and his movements turn into a streak of pure motion. The attacker sneers that he's relentless, then he thrusts his staff forward and slams the attack to a stop. Dark Tendril lashed out and snapped his tendrils around Raiachi. He whips his axe around at breakneck speed, slashing through those tendrils and throwing them off course. The attacker sneers at his frantic power trip like it's nothing. Ryoichi charges in, fist locked tight, ready to land the hit. He drives a crushing punch straight into the attacker's jaw. The impact hits like a punch, then the attacker hurls out a brutal spray of black blood. Ryuchai lunges and slams into the stunned figure, driving them hard to the deck. He slams his opponent down and pins them tight, and they gasp in pure shock as they realize they've been caught. The cloak just hangs there, deadly silent. Terror floods their face as they frantically beg their familiars to teleport them out of this nightmare. But Fuzzy Spirit, Kahaku, and Kuli snap back that their familiars are already gone, captured. Ryuichi slams the assailant to the ground, growling with cold menace, and swears he'll show absolutely no mercy. The attacker stared in raw disbelief, because they didn't just lose, they got completely and brutally overpowered. With a savage thud, Ryoichi smashes both fists straight into his enemy's face. A brutal strike sends a violent spray of dark blood bursting from the attacker's mouth. Ryoichi's face twists into cold, ruthless fury as he grips his bloodied fist. Pinned to the deck and utterly beaten, the assailant gasped, "Who the hell are you?" Suddenly, recognition hits hard, darts fly in, and they shout for him to wait just one moment. With a trembling finger, they point him out, swearing they recognize his black hair and black eyes. Ryuchai just stares, totally shell-shocked by this sudden, weird deja vu. A memory crashes back, an attacker standing alone in a grim graveyard, the eerie hill of the dead. The flashback keeps rolling, and you see the kingdom's ruins, once the legendary hero's throne, now shattered to dust. The attacker stares at a portrait of King Dread and his elven queen, then realizes he's spotting Dread's shadow in Raiachi. Blood splashes across Ryoichi as the hero's dreaded children's picture book crashes back into his memory. The assailant leans in and swears this tale is pulled straight from the truth, Drod daringly went out and saved the elven princess. In this story, the king and his princess bask in pure joy, and every single one of their subjects adores them. But the assailant sneers through their smile, snarling that they despise people like that, and claiming the story's only half true. A chilling vision flashes. King Drod grabs his head in raw agony, and in the blink of an eye, his whole personality twists into something far worse. A murderer. In a blind, raging madness, he butchered his own family and turned his kingdom to ashes. The attacker erupts into a maniacal cackle, praising it as the delightful story, then declares loud and proud that they're a follower of the corrupted king. They tell Ryoichi his fate is already sealed, and then they step up like, "We'll gladly offer ourselves to you." A glowing magic circle snaps into place as they dare him, strike the final blow now, before blood starts raining on his sisters. A dark spell whips into a frenzy of terrifying power, begging to unleash its curse on the ship. Dark energy claws spill from the spell and viciously pierce Ryoichi's body. Across the deck, pirates and soldiers all lurch in shock as blood spears slam into them too. Barbarossa shoves two kids behind him, barking orders for his men to dive for cover. Ryuichi braces himself, unleashing his forbidden magic as a snarling vortex of skulls spirals into his hand. Balanced on the rigging, Kahaku stares with wide, worried eyes as Ryoichi gathers power. The spirit yells at him to stop, because his magic is skyrocketing fast, fed by a blessing. Kahaku warns that if he dares to wield dark magic that strong, the backlash won't just hurt, it could twist and corrupt him. Ryuichi throws out an apology, but he swears he has to borrow that power right now to smash the danger staring him down. He slams out his spell, and a colossal, swirling vortex of pure destruction erupts in front of him. The assailant gets rocked by the strike, stunned and panicking. Is this a tornado or a pillar of fire? A brutal burst of dark magic detonates and swallows the attacker whole. Ryoichi's dark flame spell erupts, roaring with a power so brutal it feels unstoppable. One boot stomps onto the deck with steel in its step as the smoke starts to thin. A calm voice slices through the chaos, snapping Ryoichi like, "That's enough." Faye stands over the downed enemy, shouting at a wounded Ryoichi to breathe and calm down. She smirks coldly and tells him, "Don't touch it, stay pure, keep your hands clean." Ryoichi is stunned as he blurts out to Faye, "How in the world did you get here?" Faye admits she couldn't teleport, so she went straight to Coco Eurus and begged her for a way out. Coco Eurus simply snapped her spirit magic into place and summoned a tornado that blasted the Faye across the battlefield. Faye shoots past Ryuichi's stunned silence and drops her gaze on the girl she's got trapped. She yanks the defeated assailant up by the collar, gripping them tight as she hauls them off the ground. Faye steps forward and declares she'll be the one who delivers the prisoner's punishment. The terrified assailant can only stutter out a question, "What are you planning to do to me?" When a monstrous beast finally materializes, face the kid who's never been shown love and give him a warm hug before it's too late. The beast surges forward and the assailant's blood-curdling screams rip across the deck. Ryuichi freezes in shock while Kahaku shrugs like it's nothing and casually suggests they go for grilled squid. A black sail ship crawls over the horizon, and the Royal Army's main fleet has finally arrived. A Royal Navy ship rams escort duty and drags the captured pirate vessel straight into Kirkport. General Gustav struts across the deck, a towering menace carved in polished plate armor. He barrels toward Barbarossa's crew and clocks the truth. These guys look like they've been roughed up good. Barbarossa growls like, "I never thought I'd have to deal with a ship packed with spirit users," and Ryoichi's right at the center of it. Gustav admits Ryoichi's move blew past every expectation and it forced a clean surrender, without a single casualty. Barbarossa and his men drop to their knees, bowing their heads to the Ryo chief, grateful he just pulled them out of death. The pirate captain, now locked in chains, is marched out under the brutal watch of two heavily armored guards. Ryuichi and the two little girls he kept safe watch as the pirate gets captured, and then gets freed right in front of them. The girls stride up to Barbarossa, bursting with gratitude and thanking him for shielding them through that brutal, non-stop battle. Barbarossa smirks like their arrival saved him the trouble of battling the Royal Army. He only wished he'd met Ryoichi's brother sooner, because if he had, he would have snatched him up and pulled him straight into his crew. With his back to them, the pirate captain is dragged off by his captors, marching him straight into whatever nightmare comes next. Ryoichi tells Gustav the pirates don't feel evil at all, just lost and misguided, and Gustav admits that's exactly what's made everything so damn difficult for them. Gustav lays it out, people are fed up with the capital and it has to change fast so they can finally welcome everyone back. He tells Ryoichi they need fresh talent, then promises he'll put him forward straight to the king himself. The general strides off, swearing they'll cross paths again on the road to the capital city. Ryoichi stood there with one of the girls, and all he could get out was a stunned, breathless, barely there reply. Without warning, his eyes snapped to a strange figure lurking far off in the distance. He spots Maro, the elven priestess, standing alone atop the rubble, her face sunk with pure, gut-wrenching defeat. Ryoichi and the girls burst out her name, stunned and worried. Maro slowly swivels her head, wrapped tight in bandages, while her sharp ears droop like they've given up. She lowers her voice and blurts out a quiet apology, admitting she felt completely useless during the fight. She can't shake the feeling she doomed Mia and Moa, like she failed her promise to protect them, and now they're sitting in real danger. Ryuchai slips up behind her, lays his hands on her shoulders, and steadies her with a soft, comforting touch. Maro jumps at his touch, cheeks burning bright as she blurts, "What are you doing?" He leans in and promises her she's safe, no injuries, no danger, then turns that calm into action and takes care of the enemy himself. She shoves his hands aside and snaps at him to stop, like she's done begging. She puffs out her cheeks, declares, "I'm not getting defeated by this," because she's his future wife. Ryuichi freezes on the words future wife, and they slam through his mind like a dark warning. King Dread's brutal murder of his elven princess wife keeps replaying in his head like a nightmare he can't outrun. He can't wrap his head around why Drad, another transfer student just like him, would do something so brutal. He pivots to tomorrow, ready to quiz about the elven land, and she practically bursts with excitement at the thought. He instantly flips his decision, tells her she doesn't need to worry, and leaves her standing there totally baffled. Coco Yura strides up, grinning as she declares the pirate chaos is finally over and settled. She flashes a bright smile, repeating the usual fairy line, then tells her home that the Coconuts archipelago can finally set sail. Ryuchai flashes her a grin and nods. He's fully on board and it's go time. Standing on the pier, he makes his choice. No matter how fear tries to take over, he's done letting anyone else drive his life. He's his own person. A ship with bright white sails snaps full of wind and slips out of the harbor, racing straight for the archipelago. People are whispering like crazy. With all this chaos wrecking everything, did Coco Your Eye's family get tangled up in the turmoil too? The whole crew settles in close as Ryoichi leans over and asks if those recent events have shaken her family. Coco Yuri's admits, "I don't really know," but then she flips the script, saying this is the perfect moment to lay out what's going on with her family. She kicks things off by throwing us straight into her world, her powerhouse dad, Toshiaki, and the two wives he keeps by his side. She flashes a picture of Chono, his legal wife, and their 3 sons. Next, she whips the spotlight onto her own mother, Monica, the concubine, and her 3 daughters. Even though they were split by status, their father treated all 6 of his kids like they were equal. No favorites, no shortcuts. Right before the throne passing, the 2 oldest sons keeled over, hacking up blood as a poison rumor turned into a nightmare. Their condition only kept spiraling downward, until a brutal succession war erupted between the last surviving sons. She can't shake the memory of her brother, Koryo, smirking as he teased her for needing to be protected from her own younger sisters. She still remembers how she snapped back, quoting a warrior's proverb about growing and changing through the fight. She and her brother Kurio lock eyes, blades in hand, poised for the duel that decides everything. Kurio smirks like he's already tasted victory, convinced this fight is finally going to turn him into a kin slayer. With a grim jaw set and tears held back, Coco Yuri swallows the truth. She has to carry the sin of killing her own brother. Balanced at the cliff's edge, the 2 siblings grit their teeth and ready themselves to launch into the fight that will decide everything. With a thunderous shout, they launch forward, blades crashing together as the duel for the family's future finally ignites. The story cuts straight to the towering, traditional gate of the Gaveldia estate on Ichigo Island. 2 Beastman retainers snap their heads up, eyes bulging with stunned surprise as the visitors come barreling closer. Another retainer spots the swordswoman coming back and blurts, "Who's with you?" The household staff blurts in one loud burst, welcoming Lady Coco back and firing off. "When did you return?" Ryoichi freezes for a beat, second-guessing if he has any right to step into the family home. Coco Yuri's whips around to him with a warm, reassuring smile, then asks him to come stand by her and back her up. An elderly retainer ushers her in like it's urgent, then shoves her straight toward her sick father. Right at the sick room door, Coco Yuri's boldly calls out that she's here, then slips inside. Inside, her mother, Monica, sits as still as stone beside the futon, watching her husband lie gravely ill. Monica coolly snaps at them, saying it's outright improper to pack that many people into the room. Every week, Lord Toshiaki, the family patriarch, interrogates the household, straight up demanding to know who's paying him a visit. His eyes pop open the moment he spots his daughter, and she blurts her return with raw, tear-ready emotion. He clocks how much she's grown, then whips his eyes to the people standing with her. Coco Yuris tells them, "I'm not just talking to you, I found my best friends during my training journey." Lord Toshiaki's eyes narrowed, he felt it instantly, a strange, heavy power radiating from Ryachi. Ryachi locks eyes with the Lord's blazing gaze, and it feels like the scrutiny is pinning him in place. The Lord watches as his daughter drags in a stranger, and he can feel it right away. A hidden power buried deep coming alive. Before he can finish a word, a brutal coughing fit hits. Blood splatters as he's seized by it. "Dad," Coco Yuris blurts out in panic, shouting, "Are you okay?" She drops to her knees and begs Mero to use her recovery magic, and the elf snaps into action, agreeing to help without hesitation. Tomorrow kicks off with a spell meant to size up the Lord's condition. She jerks back, eyes wide, trying to figure out what kind of insane, complex magic she's just felt in the air. Panic sparks in her chest as she realizes those heavy-duty healing spells are already running, multiple high-level ones all at once. A towering man in a fox mask and priest's robe strides into view, gripping his staff like he's about to cast a spell. The masked priest fires off yet another blast of healing magic straight at the bedridden Lord. Lord Toshiaki groans through pure agony as the spell digs deeper and makes his suffering worse. Monica tells everyone that the high priest's magic isn't saving him at all, it's just dragging out his suffering. She adds that his oldest son is stuck in that same state too, then pushes them to get out and leave. Outside, the retainer breaks down, crying that the family's situation has sunk into pure misery. Coco Yuri's demanded answers about her missing mother and stepmother, and she refused to let the room stay silent. With a heavy heart, the retainer starts spilling the truth about what happened to her mother, Monica. He drops the bombshell that Monica's been locked under house arrest. Lady Chono's orders, no debate. In a separate building, Monica keeps things cool and composed as she performs a precise tea ceremony, slow and graceful as if nothing could touch her. The silence shatters when footsteps explode toward her room. Coco Yuri's barrels in, firing off that she's arrived to her mother, fast, urgent, and loud. Monica lifts her eyes, calm on the surface, but a deep, quiet sadness clings to her face. Coco Yuras can't take it and blurts out why they're treating her like this. Monica shoots back that she's safe for now. She leans in and whispers that her future hangs on what happens from this point on. Coco Yuri's drops a bombshell. She claims she's heard about the brutal succession war tearing her brothers apart. Masato and Koryo's feud has blown the family wide open, ripping it into rival, fighting factions. Monica spills the story of how Chono stormed in and accused her of poisoning the family heirs. Seeing that, Coco Yuri snaps her hand into a tight fist, frustration boiling over. She explodes in a roar, calling the accusation ridiculous and swears she'll wipe the truth clean and clear her mother's name. Monica can't shake the feeling that Chono is hiding behind the chaos, using it as a perfect excuse to wipe her out. Coco Yuris suddenly calls out Koryo's name, and as she says it, she remembers him as the sweet, kind boy he used to be. The room's door gets ripped off its hinges and slammed open with a thunderous bang. Koryo stumbles in, drenched in blood, and his face looks like the fight left scars all over his soul. The three of them jerk back, blindsided by a sudden, violent burst of something that shows up out of nowhere. Coco Yuris bursts into shocked cries when brother Koryo shows up looking like that. He stares at her, frozen in shock, and blurts her name like he can't believe what he's seeing. He makes it clear Masato was the mastermind behind all this chaos, and now he's been taken care of. He declares this is finally going to wipe the suspicion off Lady Monica's name for good. He strides past Ryoichi, eyes locked straight ahead, his face giving away nothing. He coldly orders Ryoichi, telling the mainlander to grab Coco and her mother and get out. Ryoichi watches him, and deep worry flashes across his face. Coco Yuras yells at her brother, pleading with him to stop, then demanding he finally explain himself. Koryo turns and strides off in silence, vanishing back into the thick foliage. Coco Yuris stands there in shock, unable to believe her own brother would ever raise a hand against their family. She drops to her knees, sobbing hard, insisting that deep down he's not a bad person at all. Faye murmurs that it feels like they're not wanted here at all, pointing out the blood-soaked stench hanging in the air. Ryachi nods and admits Koryo's murderous intent hit him like a punch, clear, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. A voice cuts through the trees and barks at him to stop right now. Two fierce young female warriors drop in out of nowhere and demand to know why he's hanging around Coco. Ryoichi freezes in shock, because the people who just attacked him are actually just young girls. They shout that there's no time for questions, then they storm him in a furious, unstoppable brawl. Ryuchai lifts his bare hands like it's effortless, snapping their synchronized sword strikes aside with deadly precision. He keeps shrugging off every strike with effortless precision, his motions smooth as silk and locked in. He snatches the weapon away from one of the girls and drops her hard to the ground. Her other sister gapes in pure disbelief as her twin gets knocked down so fast it feels unreal. Ryuichi knows his attacks won't land on them. Training taught him their moves, so every strike is easy to spot. He blasts them with a tornado spell, and both attackers get ripped off the ground and launched into the sky. The Koko Eurus snaps into alarm, instantly recognizing them as her younger sisters Meme and Meme. Monica stormed in, threw an apology at everyone's feet, and blamed her daughter's rude stunt toward their guest. Ryachi leans in and tells her it's totally fine, then points out that their skill for their age is straight up impressive. Mimi and Meme drop to their knees, shooting out sincere, non-stop apologies for their reckless attack. Ryachi bursts into laughter, says this is his first time meeting twins, and admits he's pretty sure he'd already been defeated. Koko Yuri's looks at his insane progress and realizes she has to crank up her own game too. With fresh fire in her chest, she decides she has to get back to her brother Koryo and talk to him again. She's ready to bolt out of there, but a wall of trouble blocks her way. Two old retainers corner her and flat out tell her she and her mother are banned from leaving. Koko Yuri's freezes in shock, her mind screaming that she can't be trapped in her own home. Faye shoots the guard a question, "Are we trapped too?" and the guard shakes his head, "Not yet." Ryachi grimly watches it all tumble out of control, fast like everything slipping from his hands. Mia says it with a sweet innocence. She asks Ryoichi if he can heal Koko's father the same way he fixed Moa. Maro remembers the appraisal in her hands, every sign pointed to this. The Lord isn't cursed, he's just knocked out. She thinks that all that crazy high-level magic might have turned him immune to any more healing spells. Ryachi stares into his past, convinced that if magic crumbles, technology has to be the way out. He stops dead and a wild new idea starts forming, lighting up his mind. He calls in Mike Sean and she materializes on the spot, firing back with, "What do you need from me?" He asks if they can run a medical check, and she says a special kit has to be installed. He rips open his map and scans it hard, hunting for the one place he can grab the expansion module he needs. Mike Sean points out that the closest setup spot is right on nearby Hachiku Island. Ryuichi suddenly realizes the world is dotted with other ancient ruins just waiting to be found. He bursts out with the new plan, get to Hachiku Island and hunt down a cure. Ryuichi blazes out their plan, and Koko Yuri fires back with their clear objective. One of the twins blurts out, "So you're saying we can really cure this?" Ryachi leans in and says he's ready to bet everything on that tiny sliver of a chance. Koko Yura's finally snaps and admits she's sick to death of her family tearing each other apart. Tears shimmer in her eyes as she looks at Ryoichi, and she calls him her hope. They crash onto Hachiguchi Island, where crumbling, sun-bleached ruins crumble under the blazing heat. Ryuchai spots the architecture and instantly clocks the vibe. It's basically like Shuri Castle from Ryukyu. The girls stare at the stone, this creepy statue, then they blink like, wait, is this thing a dog? At the foot of the ruins, a pitch-black cave gapes open in the mountain, waiting to swallow whatever dares to enter. Mike Sean tells everyone the stone golem isn't just any beast. It's a guardian ripped from the ruins and brought back through scavenging. Ryachi spots the truth fast. Someone has ripped those precious magic metals right out, leaving them stripped and ruined. The whole crew crowds up at the cave's mouth, convinced it's the doorway to their next underground base. Mike Chan shuts them down and says the real facility isn't out in the open. It's hidden inside a mountain. Ryuchai glances at his map, and the moment he does, confusion hits hard because it only leads to a dead end. Mike Chong lays it down flat. This research facility is totally hidden from the outside world. She swears this place is where her brand new body is storing the modules. They need to build a brand new artificial body just to crank up her memory capacity. The magic armor charges straight through the cave, smashing rock and blasting earth apart like they mean nothing. Moa beams and says, "This totally reminds me of when we mined from Magic 4 back then." Ryachi grins, flashing back to that moment when it was only the two of them. He points out that the cockpit is totally packed to the limit now, no space left at all. The tiny space is packed to the brim, his family shoulder to shoulder with Fozzie spirit familiars crowding in too. Faye blurts out that she's never laid eyes on a relic this mind-blowing before. The magic armor's fist rips through the last rock blocking their path. Ryoichi leans in and blurts out, So, is the Sankaka Magic Tool Company still up and running? With a brutal crack, the rock splits and the wall finally gives up, collapsing in a thunderous echo. Debris bursts apart and there, right beneath the rubble, an entrance to a hidden tech facility snaps into view. The mech rolls into a spotless, bright-lit tunnel that screams man-made from every perfect wall. Ryuchai and Moa freeze in shock when they realize this place isn't just some base. It's a real research facility. The facility sits in dead silence, pitch black, like the main power systems just vanished. Up in the cockpit, Mike shot Sean a look and started tearing apart the facility's floor plan like it was a puzzle waiting to crack. She spots the generator on the third basement level as their first mission. Ryuchai's lantern flickers as the whole crew drops down the dark staircase, step by step into the shadows. Moa shivers and says the darkness feels terrifying, and Ryachi nods like, yeah, it's totally creepy. Ryoichi's smile fades and a serious look snaps onto his face as he starts plotting their next move. He grilled Faye, demanding to know why a research giant like that was left to rot and fall silent. Faith pauses, studies her thoughts hard, and then drops her theory like it's the only answer that fits. She says their company doesn't build anything new, they just dig up old relics, salvage them, and sell them off. Ryuchai finally clicks, these people aren't the answer, just recyclers, and that realization only makes the mystery go even deeper. They finally hit the landing for the third basement level. They stumble into a huge room and strike gold. A massive emergency magic power generator, dead quiet for now. Mike Sean slams the warning, if you start it now, you're playing with fire, those damaged wires could spell disaster. Ryoichi leans in and tells you to leave it to him, because fixing machines is his absolute specialty. He whips out a generator and a toolbox straight from his item box. With a hard hat on, he snaps his breeding box into place to copy a piece. The girls stare at him, totally lost, convinced he's fixing a curse. The second he finishes the repairs, the generator erupts to life with a violent roar. Suddenly, the whole facility bursts into a wash of bright, modern light. With the power roaring back, Ryoichi grins and tells them, now we're going to the fourth floor. He discovers the storage room is cryogenically frozen tight. Everything stays perfectly pristine. They burst into a massive warehouse, where rows of perfectly stacked boxes stretch out in every direction. Ryoichi stares in disbelief. After all this time, everything looks brand new. Mike Sean says they're not hunting that kit by hand. They've already got it handled. She snaps them to a sealed door and swings it like it holds the secret to her brand new body. Behind that brutal heavy door, they crack it open, and there's a stasis pod glowing softly in the dark. Ryuchai kicks off the synchronization process, staring straight at the android within. He can't stop staring. Right there in front of him is a real android, a lifelike artificial body. Moa stares at the sleeping figure and blurts out that Mike Sean is downright beautiful. Moro stands there silent as a judge, glaring through the whole process. She yanks Ryoichi by the collar and snaps that he's off playing matchmaker again, snatching up yet another bride candidate. Mia just knew the AI had been biding its time, waiting for this exact moment. The pod hiss kicks in, and a huge wave of white steam bursts out like a living fog. A naked, just-awoken Mike Sean bursts out of his pod, blinking like he's been reborn. Mia is convinced the real Mike Sean ripped Ryoichi out of another world and dragged him here. Mike stumbles on unsteady legs, and Ryoichi instantly lunges in to catch her. He pulls her into a tight embrace and lets her finally steady herself in that brand new body. She tells him that when she touches him, she gets rock-solid biometric readings that are way clearer. The stasis pod slams shut behind her and she's standing there, alone, unshaken. Moro shrugs off the whole question of whether the AI has feelings. She decides it doesn't matter. She's roaring at the naked android, demanding it throw on some clothes right now. Mike Chan chuckles as he innocently asks the blushing Ryoichi what kind of clothes he's into. She tells him she's got shape memory tech, then says she can rebuild his data piece by piece. With a snap of light, she's suddenly standing there in a Japanese high school girl's uniform. In the next breath, she shifts into a full-on traditional shrine maiden. At last, she pops into existence in a bunny girl outfit, and right on top, she's got a tray in hand. Maro shrieks at her, demanding she stop flashing those lewd, provocative outfits. Faye and the girls can't stop staring. The bunny costume looks adorable, but it also feels mysteriously irresistible. The story snaps to the dark, jagged shores of Ichigo Island. Mimi and Meme, twins with matching chaos, tear through the moonlit forest at full sprint. One sister swears escaping was a piece of cake, thanks to the sleeping powder. Two guards are sprawled out cold at their posts, snoring away like they didn't notice a thing. The twin of them stumble on a trail of blood splashed across the tall grass. Spurred on by the scent, they point sharply and swear it's pulling straight toward the coast. They spot a lone figure vanishing into the distance, blood soaking their back as they walk away. The twins' sinking feeling hits hard. What if they've already run out of time to stop the disaster? One blurts out, trying to calm the other down. Misato's not evil, I swear. The story slams back into the main hall of the Gaveldia family estate. Chono gasps in total shock when she sees her wounded son, Koryo, and the scream rips out of her. She darts through his side and fires off. Can you move? Are you okay? Koryo erupts in rage, demanding they track down Masato and capture him right now. A soldier leans in and tells him, face grim, that it's finally over. No more need for him now. He hurls a bloody bundle onto the ground and yells, Masato's dead. Tucked inside the bundle is a severed left arm, clenching a cursed demon blade with terrifying grip. Chono and the elders choke on a horrified gasp when they lay eyes on the brutal, gruesome scene. The elder's eyes widen as he spots it. His blade is none other than the infamous demon sword, Sasunuki. He tells the legend of that sword, one swing away from disaster for whoever dares to wield it. The soldier snaps to the conclusion that the curse must have driven Masato into full-blown madness. Chono wastes no time. He immediately points the finger at Masato's faction and pins the whole mess on them. Koko Yuri's lunges forward and urges her stepmother to rein it in. Right now. Chono finally admits that Monica, Koko Yura's mother, has a ton of supporters backing her. She whips around to her son, Koryo, and demands his take on what they should do next. Koko Yura snaps and decides her mother and sisters will be kicked out of the Gaveldia name for good. While everyone else is clueless, her younger twin sisters climb that sheer cliff like it's nothing, gripping every inch with expert skill. Beneath the moonlight, she can't stop wondering if her brother Koryo's big ambition is really meant to protect her, or if it hides something darker. A tense hush shatters as Lord Toshiaki suddenly screams in searing, sharp agony. A brutal coughing attack rips through him, and his whole body aches and convulses in agony. Just like that, the torment disappears and he's staring in disbelief. His body suddenly feels weightless. His daughters burst into the room, shouting his name like they can't believe he's really here. All the household retainers burst into wild cheers, celebrating like crazy over his miraculous recovery. Then the whole story whips around to lock onto the fierce stare of a way younger Koryo. In a flashback, the boy steels himself, ready to unleash a hidden Kirin Ryu sword technique. A younger Koko Yuris spots his prized research book, shattered, lying broken on the ground. That Curio brushes off her worry and snaps that her help is just another stain on his name. She pushes hard, insisting he takes the whole thing straight to their father. He shoots back, bitter and raw, saying his dad doesn't care about him at all. He's only got eyes for his brothers. With pure determination, Koko Yuras declares, "You're getting a personal trainer, me," and vows to train him herself. They dove into secret training, and the grind that broke them ended up becoming the chapter he'd later treasure like gold. The day of the ceremonial duel finally slams into place. With a burst of steel, Koryo crashes in and lands a jaw-dropping, game-ending punch. Against every wild expectation, the little boy slams through the brutal duel and walks away the winner. But the second he lands his first real victory, Graham's reality slams in and steals the spotlight. It was also the very first time he ever took another person's life. His stepmother Chono shrugs it off as just an accident and shoves him to celebrate anyway. Consumed by guilt, Koryo storms the home of the man he murdered. There, he overhears the retainers huddled close, whispering that the duel was never a real fight at all. It was a rigged match. He just freezes, stunned, speechless, as his whole world starts to crumble around him. They say Chono bribed his opponent and somehow her own stepsons. Wins turned sour into a tainted victory. Truth didn't stand a chance anymore. Betrayal had already taken root deep and solid. Glaring at his own fate, he shut himself away, spending every last breath locked in research. Fueled by a desperate need for strength, he dove into forbidden, dark powers. His grim quest finally dragged him into a desolate, haunted stretch of land that felt like it was breathing in the dark. On the Hill of the Dead, he crashed straight into a demonic force so powerful it felt unstoppable. Bloodied near death, he didn't get the final blow. Someone offered him a dark pact instead. Back in the present, a battered Ryuchi bares his teeth and snarls that Curio just crossed the line. He steps up to shield Koko Yuris and snaps that from this moment on, he's Curio's opponent.